Hey my watchers, welcome. Today we are gonna see, what if Harry Potter was manipulated married Severus' daughter? Join Patreon for early access exclusive content of Super Op stories, also contents that's too far for YouTube. You will get 400 content there, please do check that too. Please subscribe this channel, because definitely I will try my best to provide a valuable content for you all. Also check the description to support the original author for this beautiful creation. Voldemort summoned his inner circle, the cream of all his Death Eaters, the truest of his supporters. Lucius Malfoy and Severus Snape appeared first, as they should followed closely by Bellatrix and Rodolphus Lestrange, Dyrus Rookwood, Alvin McNair, and finally Charles Avery. Avery, why are you late? Don't bother to answer, I really don't care. Lucius, what have you found out about that attack at Dorset Village? We know we had nothing to do with it, correct? I didn't approve it. Have some of the lower order decided to take matters into their own hands? Demanded Lord Voldemort with a sneer. Lucius Malfoy calmly replies, My lord, the Ministry are blaming Death Eaters but have no supporting evidence. There was nothing at the scene to point to us. No one was captured. There were no witnesses who can say for sure, no cloaks or masks, and the Morsmadra wasn't used. All that was found or confirmed at the site was a heavy residue of dark magic and 7 dead Muggle children. That interfering old bastard Dumbledore pointed the finger at you and the Ministry jumped on it. Severus, what is the old fool up to? In truth, I wish I knew, Master. He hasn't taken a meeting with the staff or the Order in over 2 weeks. I have suspicions but no proof. Speculate. He portrays himself as this great white wizard, as the wizarding world's great hope, caretaker of the boy who lived. We know he is anything but. He's allowed even ordered escalating and continuous abuse on Harry Potter and leaves him, despite his protests, in the care of those abusive Muggles. It's my belief he hopes to someday soon rescue Potter from the horror of his relatives, thereby making the boy worship him and do whatever he asks. At that exact moment, a coal-black owl flies in and heads straight to the Dark Lord, screeching at him beseechingly to take the outstretched missive. Voldemort looks at Lucius and Severus. How is it possible that this owl just flew in here? How did it get past the wards, charms, and other protections set up on this property? To Tom M. Riddle, Lord Voldemort, the Dark Lord, Sir, you are my final hope. Please hear me out before you throw this missive in the rubbish bin. My name, which I only recently found out, is Diana Cassiopeia Ursula Nyssa Asterii Hunter. Potter Malfoy Black. I've gone by Diana Hunter most of my life. I was almost 2 when my papa was killed on top of me. The white-bearded man then took and gave me into the care of one Jessup Blandish. I don't know the name of the man that put me in his care, if that's what you want to call it, but care isn't the word I would use. Torture would be much closer and more fitting. This is the reason I've contacted you. I can't take his punishments any longer, and the punishment and inflicted damage are escalating exponentially on a daily and weekly basis. How is it my fault that the day ends in Y, or that it rained? Would you punish your child because they received the highest marks in a subject? I've been punished for all of these reasons and many more, all equally frivolous. I've tried getting messages to my still living fathers, also just recently discovered. Thank Merlin for summer homework, but can't get any messages through by owl, elf, or even Muggle mail. So after thoroughly studying my family tree, you are my final hope. I've included a vial of my blood and the potion Veritas Paternas, which is what I used to discover my true lineage, so that you too may confirm it. I am hoping that as a blood relation you will see fit to save me from this madness that I've been forced to endure for the last almost 15 years. I know you can't just trust that what I am saying is true, and I understand. I just hope that you can understand that I cannot endure this any longer. I've longed for a family that would love me. I've prayed and futilely wished for a guardian that might at least respect me, and have about lost hope entirely. I hope that blood ties have some meaning to you, and that the evidence that I've sent you proves our relationship to your satisfaction. Please, great-grandfather, please save me. P.S. If you have contact with my 2 remaining fathers, they were both alive when I last did the potion, Lucius Dragord Malfoy and Sirius Orion Black. Let them know that I tried to find them, but my letters always came back undeliverable. I wish I had been able to know them. Copies of letters that were sent are enclosed. Sincerest regards, Severus. Take this blood and potion, verify her findings. Lucius, gather the elite. There is a young pureblood which that has been tortured past her endurance that needs rescuing. She has the strength and courage to look for other solutions. We will rescue her regardless of Severus' findings. Have them ready in 30 minutes. Return of the Black Rose by Diana the Huntress. Chapter 2. Harry's Decision. Harry was sitting in his tiny barely furnished room on Privet Drive contemplating the lies he'd discovered at the end of the school term. Ron being paid to be his friend, Hermione getting privileges and power for spying on him, Ginny getting promised the Potter fortune for spying on him and keeping his hormones on edge. The whore. Dumbledore thinking of him as nothing more than a tool, a weapon to be used and disposed of once its purpose was complete. They never should have even considered taking his inheritance, but they did and have. The bastard should have never given him that invisibility cloak, especially if he didn't want his secrets found out. What to do about the traitors? Ignore them. Nah. Not painful enough to them need to hurt them where it counts. Going to start with legal matters and make it hurt them where it counts most. We'll show them just how mature I am. He pulled out a piece of parchment and started writing. To Griphook, I hope that you don't mind me addressing these matters to your attention, but yours is the only name I have for any goblins employed at Gringotts Bank, and what I am writing about are definitely banking matters. Please don't take this the wrong way, but what the hell are you goblins playing at? Are you truly neutral like you claim? Because if that's the case, I am honestly not seeing it. To my eyes and from what I've witnessed lately, you all seem to have sided with that double-dealing, thieving, backstabbing bastard Dumbledore. If this is the case, then I will have to take my business elsewhere. If I am mistaken, and I do hope that I am, please help me in dealing with the following issues. First issue, please audit my accounts fully. I have recently discovered that I should have more than just the single vault that I have been accessing. Since I have never been told of it when I should have when I turned 11 and came into Gringotts, I wish to have an audit done of anything and everything that belongs to me. Why was I never informed of any vaults besides the school trust vault that I started accessing when I turned 11? Second issue, why have I never gotten statements from Gringotts about any of my accounts vaults? Third issue, I want every penny not withdrawn by me personally since the death of my parents in October 1981 returned with 10 interest, or I will file a lawsuit against Gringotts. I am the only heir. I am the blood and magical heir to the Potter-Evans line, and everything is mine. Every book should be returned, every scroll, every piece of jewelry, every item, and every artifact, chair, rug, robe, scarf, cloak, everything. I have never authorized anyone to access my vaults, so everything removed is to be considered stolen. I authorize you to act in my stead in getting my funds and property returned with any and all appropriate penalties paid by the thieves or their agents. Fourth issue, why wasn't I informed of my inheritance from my godfather, Sirius Black, and why hasn't this matter been dealt with properly according to goblin laws? Fix this now. I know what is in his will because he showed it to me before he was killed. Fifth issue, I want to do the heir's blood ritual to see if there are any other lines that I could possibly inherit. I will be at Gringotts on Wednesday at 7 a.m. Final issue for now, look through the properties that I have inherited thus far and find the most secure. Have it prepared for me, add any additional wards and charms that you feel would keep me safe from the Death Eaters and Dumbledore. Charge my school vault appropriately. I want to move there after our meeting. Thank you, Griphook, for your assistance in these matters. Sincerely, Harry James Potter. Griphook was amazed at the letter he just received from Harry Potter and grinned accordingly. The boy had finally discovered the treachery being played upon him. Now they could help. He'd finally asked. He headed straight to the clan chief's office, and after knocking open the door, the aged goblin behind the desk looked up inquiringly. Yes, youngling? Master Grimtooth, the Potter boy, has finally discovered the treachery played against him. He has made me his agent in handling his account. He is demanding that we fix several things before his arrival in 2 days, starting with the unauthorized withdrawals of funds since his parents' deaths, and the returning of property removed from the Potter vaults to include jewelry, books, scrolls, magic items, clothing, and any and all property. He also demands 10 interest on the money taken. Sir, the Chosen One has had his eyes opened and he isn't happy. He wants to have a house prepared with wards strong enough to protect him from not only Voldemort and his Death Eaters but Dumbledore and his associates as well. He also wants to do the heir's blood ritual. Grimtooth smiles in satisfaction. He knows what to expect then since he's asked for it. That is good, Griphook. There might finally be a wizard worthy of regard from goblins. Do as he wants. We've never liked Dumbledore anyway. Him stealing from one of our clients makes me more than angry. Get him 15 interest instead of 10. Take everything back today, no later than midnight. Have the secretaries send the retrieval notices out after the retrieval. Have our wardsmiths prepare the best of his houses at no charge and look into finding him a magical advisor. Someone who has experience in accounting and business matters as well as estate management. We will provide Mr. Potter with everything he needs to be a successful independent wizard. Oh, and Griphook make copies of all the evidence. The forged signatures, the unauthorized withdrawals, the removal of property, and send them all to Madame Bones with a note to start preparing for trial, and be sure to let her know that even if her copies are lost, we've kept the originals so the case cannot be swept under the table and forgotten. I'll have them prepare the ritual chamber. Wednesday should indeed be interesting. Congratulations, Griphook, and your very major promotion. Chapter 3 Dumbledore's Quandary. Albus Dumbledore was still sitting in his office at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, deeply immersed in the tome of blood wards and runic barriers that he'd found in the Potter vaults. He had been amazed when he'd found it during his last exploration through the vault. He hadn't realized that the Potter line dated back to the time of the founders. But this tome was written by Rowena Ravenclaw and Robert Asselon Potter. It turns out that Robert Potter had been one of Lady Ravenclaw's teachers, in fact master to her apprentice. This book and the two others he'd found on ancient wards, both offensive and defensive, would be instrumental in the rewarding of Hogwarts and his other acquired properties. He called for a house elf to bring him a midnight snack. Tulip was setting out the hot chocolate and cookies when suddenly things started disappearing with loud pops from all over the office. Starting with the book that Dumbledore was deeply scrutinizing. Dumbledore quickly checked the elf to make sure it was one of the schools. Then checked his dark magic detectors, only to find half of them missing. With no other obvious options, he pulls in his magic and checks the wards on the school to find them intact. He quickly calls the professors that are still Hogwarts to alert them to the disappearing artifacts and use of unknown magic in the thievery. Professors Snape and McGonagall enter the headmaster's office to see Dumbledore in a rage, scrambling around the office, naming off random items for no apparent reason. Snidely and a bit put out for being awakened at midnight, Snape inquires, "Headmaster, what is the meaning of this? Why have I been summoned from sleep on one of the few nights I am actually able to get some?" Voice full of anger and sarcasm, twinkle gone from his eye, Dumbledore replies to Snape, "Good Severus, I don't know if it is or not. I just thought you might want to check your precious potions lab to see if it's intact, because about 20 different books and artifacts just disappeared from my office in less than 5 minutes. Worried Minerva McGonagall asks in a stern voice that brooked no games, "Albus, what items have disappeared?" Albus Dumbledore answers almost absently in his irrepressible anger, "Several tomes that I borrowed from the Potter vaults, the dark detectors and monitors that I retrieved to use to keep track of Harry, a few other magical items including that extra invisibility cloak from the Potter vaults. Oh, and let's not forget, the Sword of Gryffindor." Severus Snape, barely listening, registers the one thing that the quoted items seem to all have in common and sarcastically inquires, "Did you get Mr. Potter's permission before removing those items from his vaults?" When Dumbledore hesitated before answering, Snape continues, "It's my guess then, Headmaster, that Mr. Potter likely found out about items missing and had his property retrieved." At that moment, with a loud pop, a scarlet parchment with gold lettering and the official Gringotts seal appears in the center of the headmaster's desk. Dumbledore picks it up, opening it carefully, and reads aloud, "Mr. Albus Dumbledore, please note that all items removed from the Potter ancestral vaults since the death of James and Lily Potter have since been returned to their proper home. All unauthorized withdrawals have been totaled and returned with 15 interest, as we do for all unsecured and unauthorized loans. All properties that you have occupied will now no longer be accessible. If there happens to have been something left behind by the packers, please alert Griphook, who will locate said items. Your account has been charged with replacing anything lost or broken permanently, as you set yourself up as Lord Potter's magical guardian and were therefore the only one with access to said property. This responsibility has since been revoked. You have been removed from the list of those permitted access to these vaults at the request of Lord Potter. Please return all keys to Gringotts by no later than 9 a.m. tomorrow, or the cost of changing the vault locks and wards will be charged to your own ancestral account. Sincerely, Grimtooth Gringotts President. Albus Dumbledore screamed in frustration, cursing the boy who lived in 3 languages while breaking everything within his reach. Rotbr, 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 Rotbr. Severus Snape was astounded at the amount of information produced by the Veritas Paternus potion. He'd used his own family as the control to verify the veracity of the information. Amazingly enough, the potion had produced names past those that he was familiar with more than 10 generations. With that to back him up, he performed the test again with the blood supplied by the unknown woman and again with blood from the Dark Lord, with astonishing results. Rotbr, 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 Rotbr. My lord, Severus intones carefully, it's true. I've tested the potion and the blood several times. I also tested the blood using some of my own methods and used my own blood as a control. You are indeed related to this young woman. Well, if the blood in the vial was hers anyhow. I performed the standard familial relationship test and it's positive you are related. But as you know, it does not tell you what that relationship is. Then I brewed my own relationship determiner potion and the ancestry potion used by the ministry. They both show that you are her great-grandfather. Following the dates listed for birth, I've discerned that in 1945 you had a relationship with Meredith Kincaid, which produced a daughter, Samara. Samara Riddle Kincaid married Sebastian Hunter. They had a son, Ronan Hunter. Ronan formed a Pentiad bond with Gregorian Asterii, Sirius Black, James Potter, and Lucius Malfoy, a very unusual relationship because each of them donated part of themselves to create a child. Desari Asterii Hunter Potter Malfoy Black, born of Sirius Black on January 1st of 1980. With a slightly inquisitive expression, Tom Riddle asks, if Potter and Malfoy had a Pentiad bond, why would they go through a traditional wedding to women outside their bond? They couldn't be bonded again without a severance and divorce, so it's nothing more than a piece of paper tying them together legally. Severus answered thoughtfully, as I recall, sir. It was through Dumbledore's meddling that they were forced into a civil union outside their bond. I don't remember everything that happened when he found out they'd formed one, but I remember his anger. He tore his office apart, breaking everything in sight, then made it his mission to break it apart. He contacted their parents and filled their ears with a lot of controversial information about Pentiad bonds, how they were evil, even though traditionally they were considered more than blessed. He convinced them that modern wizards frowned on anything so unusual and that they'd be shunned in magical society. The Potters and Malfoys have always been overly image-conscious. They believed everything Dumbledore said hook, line, and sinker. They demanded their heirs break away from their bonded and form a typical Muggle-type marriage or lose everything. Pentiad bonds are soul bonds, though. They can't be broken. Death is the only way to sever the relationship. This forced them into the civil ceremonies that they performed. They were barely legal the way it was done, and it makes inheritance rather confusing. Dumbledore was fooled into thinking that the bond had been broken when in fact it hadn't, and their parents were happy. So my granddaughter has 2 half-brothers. This could make things very interesting. Please send a note to Harry Potter. Make it very polite, Severus, and informative. Include the relationship potions that you used today and her own, and some of her blood. Let him see for himself that they are indeed related. I do not war on my own flesh and blood, and by blood, he is related to my great-granddaughter. That makes him family. Unless Mr. Potter pushes it, he is no longer a target. That will be all, Severus. Rotbr, 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 Rotbr. Lucius Malfoy entered the throne room, a body carefully cradled in his arms. Anger and disgust clearly expressed on his face. My lord, we need a healer. Her wounds are serious. Voldemort turns his head and orders, Wormtail, get my healer now. Then he looks towards Severus. Severus, help her as best you can. He then conjures an armless and backless sofa and indicates to Lucius to lay the young lady down. Once Snape starts his triage, Tom turns to Lucius and demands, report, Lucius. We followed the spells on the parchment you were sent. It took not a lot of effort to break the wards on the house where she was being held. When we managed to get inside, we found her chained face down on a bed. That bastard that was supposed to be her guardian had taken a whip to her and beat her till her clothing was completely gone. He was still working her over when we arrived. Once we eliminated him and got her free of the bindings, we used the standard diagnostic spell and found she's suffering from pneumonia, 3 broken ribs, a bruised larynx, a broken ankle, a broken arms that's fractured at the wrist and just above the elbow, severe bruising to the stomach and kidneys. I gave her a blood-replenishing potion, calming draft and the stabilizing potion. She passed out just as we arrived at the apportation point here. Very good, Lucius. I hope the bastard departed this world in a great deal of pain? Yes, my lord. Crab held the cruciatus on him till he expired. Rot-br, 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 rot-br. After watching the Mediwitch and healer work for 6 solid hours assisted by Snape, Voldemort demands in exasperation, "You have questions, Lucius? Ask them now." Lucius tentatively responds, not wanting to anger Voldemort. Who is she, my lord? She's my great-granddaughter, Lucius, but not only that. She is your missing daughter. In complete shock and confusion, Lucius replies, "My daughter, sir? I don't have a daughter. Narcissa hasn't been able to conceive since we had Draco." Voldemort's eyes sparkle in understanding as he inquires, "Do you remember having a relationship with James Potter and Sirius Black?" "I'd never, sir. They are blood traitors, the both of them, turning their backs on the wizarding world to support all those damn muggles." "But you did, Lucius. You not only had a relationship, you had a Pentiad soul bond. I believe your memories have been tampered with." He turns quickly to Severus and demands, "When they can do without your services, Severus, you are to brew a Memoriam Restorium draft for yourself and Lucius." Chapter 4, Familial Connection Confirmed. Severus Snape was astounded at the amount of information produced by Veritas Paternus potion. He'd used his own family as the control to verify the veracity of the information. Amazingly enough, the potion had produced names past those that he was familiar with more than 10 generations. Rot-br, 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 rot-br. Harry Potter had just finished his letter to the Order when a beautiful glittery black dragon that was only 1.5 feet long with a message clutched in a claw popped into his room and settled in front of him on the desk. As he watched in astonishment, the dragon reached down, then held out the message to him in an imperious manner. Harry, still stunned at the appearance of a dragon in his room, didn't respond, until the dragon addressed him in Parseltongue. "Are you going to take your message, sir?" Harry responded in astonishment. "You speak? Wow. Yes, of course I'll take the message. Who is it from?" "Of course I speak, Mr. Harry. My master wanted an intelligent familiar that he could have conversations with. He assured me that you two would enjoy conversation with me and that I was permitted to speak. His letter explains everything, Mr. Harry. Read it if you will, then I will answer the questions that I can before I make my return." Agreeing, Harry opens the message. "Dear Mr. Potter, I do hope this message finds you well. It's come to my attention that many facts about your family have been kept from you, since those that are supposed to inform and advise you have not. I decided to. Mr. Potter, you have a half-sister. Included are 3 potions and blood from the young woman to help prove this to you. She was born of a soul bond that was formed by your father James Potter, with 4 other men, called a Pentiad bond. Your sister was born of the Pentiad bond. This bond was formed while they were still in school and was disapproved of by the headmaster. He interfered in their relationship, trying to break it up, eventually causing James Potter and 1 other in the bond to have civil marriages outside their bond so as to not lose their inheritances. You were born of this civil bond. It was legal and binding, and from what I saw of it, your father and mother did have a loving relationship even if they were not truly in love, and you were both wanted and loved. Don't think otherwise. If your father hadn't formed the soul bond, one do believe he would have bonded with Lily Evans anyway. They always had a very close relationship once he stopped being an arrogant git. James and Lily adored you. Never feel that you were a burden or unwanted. Your sister went missing the same night that you were orphaned. She'd been left home with one of her fathers, Gregorian Asterii, because she'd been sick, while the others went to a special Samhain festival at the ministry. Asterii was found murdered by killing Curse. She was missing. No sign was ever found of her. Sirius Black was unable to search for her because, well, he discovered his murdered mate and missing daughter, then went to check on your father. He found James and Lily dead and you injured. I think his shock went very deep. Dumbledore wouldn't let him have you, which might have prevented his rampage against Pettigrew, and you know the rest. He went to Azkaban without a trial for 12 years and broke out to save you from Pettigrew. To my knowledge, he never found his daughter. I know Ronan Hunter searched for her extensively and spared no expense. Even her grandmother Walburga Black participated in this endeavor. It was in fact this Penthiad bond that helped Black get back in his mother's good graces. The Blacks followed the old ways and refused to listen to that interfering white-bearded old fool. When you've performed the tests and wish to discuss the situation, you may send your owl to me. Mr. Potter, I do not hate you and never have. Dumbledore demanded the behavior that I displayed, or he'd turn me over to the Ministry as a Death Eater. I have no wish to waste my life in Azkaban. I would have treated you with the proper respect due to any person if not for him. I am sure by now that you know of my true allegiance, and I'll even confirm it. I am loyal to Voldemort, who is not the person portrayed to the world by the media and Dumbledore. He did not murder your parents. Yes, he was there, but had no intention of killing anyone. Both he and I are willing to discuss this with you in detail when you are willing to listen. We want you to know the truth. Sincerely, Severus Snape. Harry sat back and stared at nothing while contemplating the information just given to him by his former potions professor. His first impulse to just shred the note and ignore it, but he realized that Snape had never lied to him. No matter how much it hurt, Snape always told him the truth and had saved his life many times, even if he got hurt in the process. Voldemort, no matter how much pain it may cause him to admit, has also never lied to him. Taunted him, teased him, even withheld a few key facts upon occasion, but never lied. He pulled out a piece of parchment and started writing his response out. Professor Snape, I've recently discovered the duplicity of the WBB white-bearded bastard, and have taken several steps to let him know that I am not to be played with. I am willing to discuss this and other matters with you and your leader if you both take an oath of secrecy that will prevent you from sharing information that we discuss with anyone else without the permission of all. The majority will not rule here. It's all or nothing. We all agree or disagree, or the information can't be shared. If you and your boss are willing to take the step, do so, and the rest of the message will appear. If you choose not to, then I thank you for the information that you've shared with me, and be sure that I will act upon it. In truth, Harry Potter. Harry hands the message to the little dragon while asking, will you take this message back to your master? Tell him that I truly do thank him for the information he's disclosed, and no matter what his decision, his honesty, no matter how brutal, has always been appreciated. The little dragon eyes Harry, thoughtfully tilting his head left and right before deciding. He then replies, Mr. Harry, if you need to get a message to my master, just call me. I will come and take it for you. That way you don't need to worry about your owl friend being harmed. Not that my master would ever hurt her. But the bumblebee has no such qualms. I'm Sidian and will make all effort to come promptly to get your messages. Thank you, Sidian. I will. Rotbr, 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 Rotbr. It's precisely 9 a.m. when Dumbledore walks through the front door of Gringotts with one mission on his mind: keeping Harry Potter under his control. He stomps over to the first goblin he sees, not caring really if it was the proper one for the situation, and demands in an unrelenting, very condescending tone, get me Gravelmouth right now. I don't have all day to wait on you. The goblin at the counter glances up at him and states in a goblin's most disrespectful tone, Mr. Dumbledore, just the man we were expecting. Stonegrinder will be with you momentarily. Please wait in chairs. He turns to the next in line and states, next in line. How may I help you today? Not believing that the goblin just dismissed him like he was a common nobody, Dumbledore decided to take a seat, then make a complaint to the goblin in charge. A very young goblin steps into the waiting area and requests, Dumbledore, Albus, OG Telmraz, Stonegrinder will see you now. This way, please. He's led back deep into the labyrinth of offices to one that has a sign outside of that states in large ornate gold lettering, O. Telmraz Steingrinder, the ancient house of Myrrlyn, the exalted and ancient house of Asterii, the noble and ancient house of Black, the righteous and ancient house of Potter with Nar Singh Griphook. Dumbledore is puzzled as to why this Stonegrinder was suddenly handling the Potter and Black accounts, but figured he'd discover the reason soon enough, especially as he was the one with magical guardianship to the only heir of the Potter line, and he hadn't authorized this change. He'd chosen Gravelmouth as the manager because he was easy to handle and wasn't above taking a gratuity to see things his way. Stonegrinder entered the room followed by two very well-armed warrior goblins. He went around the desk and sat in his throne-like chair where he proceeded to pull out a thick file of papers. He finally couldn't take being ignored any longer. Dumbledore demanded, "What is this about Stonegrinder, and where is Gravelmouth?" "He is the goblin that is in charge of the Potter account." Stonegrinder looks over the top of the papers he was reviewing, then starts speaking, his voice low and gravely. "Mr. Dumbledore, I don't think you really want to advertise your association with that Sramsters Gravelmouth. He was put to death last evening for crimes against goblin law and embezzling funds and property from some of Gringotts' most prestigious clients. Of course you should know that he implicated you in some of his thefts, and that those allegations are being investigated. All findings will be sent directly to the Ministry Department of Law Enforcement." Being quick on his feet, Dumbledore quickly responds, "What? I've never. Why would I need to steal? Do you realize who I am? I am Lord Albus Dumbledore, head of the noble and illustrious House of Dumbledore. I do not need to steal. Mr. Dumbledore, your brother Aberforth William Franklin Dumbledore, the third of that name, is the Lord and head of the House of Dumbledore. He allows you to act in his stead with the Wisengamot and the House of Lords. That is his choice, but it does not in any way make you the Lord. I also did not accuse you of any crimes. I just informed you as to what occurred last evening and assured you that all steps are being taken to discover the truth and get justice for the victims of these crimes. I demand to know who put you in charge of the Potter account. I am Mr. Potter's guardian, and Lord Potter was granted emancipation by his godfather, and the ministry, therefore you no longer have any say about his accounts or business. His first step in assessing his assets was reclaiming all property and money illegally removed from his homes and accounts. This was done at midnight last night. All that were in possession of said property were notified by Gringotts as to the retrieval. As for who appointed me to this position, it was Lord Potter's own agent, N.A.R. Singh Griphook. He understood that while he was Mr. Potter's choice, he still has much to learn, so requested my assistance. I do not assist anyone. So with this being understood and his own thirst for knowledge and experience, I've gained a very intelligent and able apprentice. Black could not have petitioned for emancipation of Harry. He was a wanted criminal. They'd have never listened to him. For the welfare and safety of underage wizards voted unanimously for his emancipation. Dumbledore, fearing the loss of his weapon, that carefully trained tool, demands, how could he prove that he didn't kill Pettigrew? There was no body. The only thing left of him was his finger. Looking surprised that Dumbledore himself hasn't figured it out already, Stonegrinder simply states, why he asked us, of course. Lord Black knew that he, like James Potter and Remus Lupin, were all mentioned in Mr. Peter Pettigrew's will. He inquired as to what had happened at the will reading, and was wonderfully pleased to learn that it had never been activated. You know, Mr. Dumbledore, that each person's last will and testament automatically activates upon the death of its owner. We simply shared this information with the Department of Law Enforcement. With a very satisfied goblin smile, now, Mr. Dumbledore, I believe you have some keys for me. Dumbledore, not wanting to be suspected for inappropriate behavior, hands over a ring that contains 5 keys. Here you go. These are the keys to the Potter vaults. Mr. Dumbledore, you know as well as I that there are 9 vaults in the Potter estate. 2 for galleons, 1 for sickles, 1 for nuts, 1 for gems, 1 for weapons and armor, 1 for jewelry and clothing, and 2 for furniture and other possessions. You've only given my 5 keys, therefore your account is being charged for changing all the locks and wards on the Potter vaults. We take the protection of our clients' property and interests very seriously. You will find, as will any of your agents that come to try and get access to any of the Potter holdings, which does include the inheritance vault, will no longer have access and will be arrested. This is your only warning. If you attempt to violate Gringotts law again, you will find your own account emptied and all Dumbledores expelled from Gringotts clientele for your crimes. Dumbledore paled to a very pale, almost pasty white, and leaves Gringotts quite shaken. He headed out into Diagon Alley trying to figure out what steps to take next. Somehow his pawn had gotten the goblins on his side. With allies like that, he could become a very big problem. He finally hits the apparition point and heads back to Hogwarts with a whole lot of thinking to do. Rot-br, 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 rot-br. Severus opens the note that Sidian brought him, and was pleasantly surprised by what he found. Professor Snape, I've recently discovered the duplicity of the WBB and have taken several steps to let him know that I am not to be played with. I am willing to discuss this and other matters with you and your leader if you both take an oath of secrecy that will prevent you from sharing information that we discuss with anyone else without all of our permission. The majority will not rule here. It's all or nothing. We all agree or disagree, or the information can't be shared. If you and your boss are willing to take this step, do so, and the rest of the message will appear. If you choose not to, then I thank you for the information that you've shared with me, and be assured that I will act upon it. In truth, Harry Potter. After reading it through a second time, he carries it to the Dark Lord. After letting him read it, he asks quietly, "What do you wish to do, my lord?" Voldemort smiles. In many ways, it's even more terrifying than his old half-snake appearance because his followers just didn't know what to make of it. It's quite simple, really, Severus. We give him his oath. He is only trying to protect himself from both sides in this war before he makes a decision to which side he belongs. I insert each individual's name. Vow to keep private all information shared between Tom Riddle, also known as Lord Voldemort, Severus Snape, and Harry Potter will, until permission is given by all to release or share it with others, will be kept secret and private. We are free to discuss it among the three of us, but we'll keep it private to all others. Not even truth spells or Veritaserum will pull it out of us. This I swear in truth and honesty. Take my magic from me if I lie. After taking the vow, the rest of Potter's letter appeared. Thank you for your trust in me. I am quite glad, actually, and would like to learn more about my sister and what you wanted to speak with my parents about. Professor Snape, if you could arrange a meeting between us, I would greatly appreciate it. As you know, the WBB is keeping me in Durskaban 1. Perhaps you could arrange for the Dursleys to be away and visit with me here. We all know that bull-crap excuse of blood wards is nothing but crap. Tom used my blood to come back, and in so doing nullified any effect those wards had, and he can get through the other wards just by not intending me any harm. By the way, I will not be staying here a lot longer. I have an appointment with my banker this week and will be moving to an unidentified residence soon after, without informing the WBB, so you may want to prepare for the panic that will ensue. I hope that it can be ready by my meeting, but I will not hold my breath. Dumbles has been mismanaging my accounts and estate since my parents' death. I have little hope that any of the properties are immediately habitable.
Till see you, Harry Potter.
Voldemort exclaims, "This is wonderful news, Severus. Arrange for a 3-day all-expenses-paid trip to that place where they wear those mouse ear hats for the Dursleys. That will get them away from their residence for the weekend, giving us plenty of time to talk with Mr. Potter. You will have to find out the schedule of his jailers for that weekend so that we can work around them. Write Mr. Potter back and tell him his guardians should be away for the entire weekend. We will visit on Saturday." Harry opens the note that Sidian had brought him. "Harry, I hope that you don't mind. We have arranged a 3-day trip to Euro Disney for your guardians and plan to visit you on Saturday. Fletcher starts his time at 8 a.m. and is supposed to finish up at 6 p.m. to be replaced by Lupin from 6 p.m. until midnight. We will visit during this time period. Fletcher can be led astray by the possibility of a lucrative but not so legal venture. I will speak to Lupin myself so he is aware of what's occurring. I will assure him as best I can of your safety, and that this was indeed your suggestion. Severus Snape. I hope you know what you are doing, Professor. Mooney can be a bit overprotective of me, but I do hope he sees things our way. He's the only family I have left, and I definitely want him on my side. Not Dumbledore's. Rotbr, 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 Rotbr. 1 Durskaban. I saw this on another story and loved it. I just wish I could remember the name of the story, so I could thank the author for the idea and give credit where credit is due. Honor belongs to J. Rowling and her associates. If it was me, I'd have a much bigger playground. Chapter 6. It begins. Home life. Petunia Dursley rapped harshly on the door, then released the numerous locks while demanding, "Boy, go make breakfast and hurry. Vernon has to leave at 6:30. He has a very important meeting today. Do not dare burn anything or you will not eat." Harry sat up slowly at hearing the harsh voice of his aunt. It was only 5:30 a.m. and she's already being bitchy. The day could only get worse. Then he remembered, today he was going to Gringotts. Things were going to get better if he had to take a crowbar and force them to. He pulled on the only set of clothes that even halfway fit him before rushing downstairs to get breakfast on. He didn't want to be late for his meeting and he only had so much time to prepare. Vernon entered the room straightening the new tie to his expensive new Gucci suit and addressed Harry pompously. Boy, you will do your chores today and help your aunt. You will not complain or lay about, and there will be none of your abnormality. If I have to feed and house you, the least you can do is pay for it in service and proper behavior. More than tired of taking his so-called uncle's crap, Harry responds in a derisively civil tone. Sorry, Uncle Vernon. I won't be here today to do the maintenance of your house and grounds, as I have to go to Diagon Alley on business. It's unfortunate that you are too cheap to actually hire a real gardener or handyman. As for earning my keep, I understand from my banker that you receive a stipend for any expenses incurred for taking me in, which includes buying me new clothing, paying for food and other necessities like shampoo, soap, towels and bedding, school supplies and uniforms when I was younger. I've been paying for everything for Hogwarts. You've never spent a penny of this stipend on me. You've only ever given me Dudley's old worn-out clothing and notebooks that he'd messed up and had replaced. And that was only grudgingly, and if I was lucky I got 1 meal a day. You better think long and hard about your treatment of me from here on out, sir, as I've appointed a new banker to be in charge of that fund. It would only take one word from me for it to be reduced or stopped entirely. I know you've received £1,500 a month for me for 14.5 years. Maybe you've spent 30 a week on me. I suggest you get an accountant or set up a budget. That way you can see where the drain on your finances truly is, because you've a mountain of money being wasted somewhere. Vernon Dursley started turning red, then headed towards purple before he started speaking. Boy, how dare you? This is my house and you only stay here with my permission. You will get your unnatural things and get out. You will not darken my doorstep again. Harry being infinitely polite. If that is what you want, Uncle Vernon. But that means you won't get this month's payment of £1,500, and there won't be any more either, as they will stop the very minute that I leave. The goblins use magic, you know, to keep track of their clients, and they'll know without me even sending them a note. Did I mention that my banker is a goblin? Seeing his aunt go very pale at the mention of goblins, he asks, Did you get to see the goblins at Gringotts' Aunt Petunia when my mom went to get her supplies? They are a bit scary looking, all teeth and claws, and they can be quite violent too. We've spent the past 3 years studying the Goblin Wars alone in history of magic. Did you know that I've made friends with a couple of them? Other wizards seem to have a problem with them, but I don't. I think they are a remarkable race of people. A bit possessive and protective of those they favor. They really don't appreciate their clients being mistreated, especially ones that have goblin friends. Petunia turns to Vernon and states unequivocally, He stays, Vernon. We need that money and we don't want trouble with those things. Lily said. She had to stop and swallow hard to continue. Lily said they eat their prey. That means they'd eat us, Vernon. They're not human, they have teeth like daggers, and they'd rip the flesh from our bones with us still alive. The boy stays and you will leave him alone. He will eat meals when we eat, and he will do whatever it is that his kind do during the day. He knows the rules of his kind, and he won't risk losing his place in that society. You and Dudley will act as if he doesn't exist. Vernon, knowing there's no dealing with her when her mind is made up, finally agrees. Very well, pet, but if he gives you any trouble, he's out. No more chances. I'm getting a big promotion today, we don't need his money that bad. As soon as Vernon was gone, Dudley went back up to bed. Nothing was different in his little world, so he didn't care. Harry went back up to his room, gathered up his things, robe, wand, and money pouch and invisibility cloak. Then he closes and locks his trunk, then using wandless magic puts a muggle-repelling ward on it to keep his nosy cousin from getting anywhere near it. Harry heads downstairs after putting on his robe and cloak, then steps out into the backyard where he asks softly, Ready to go, Moony? Yes, Harry, whenever you are, Remus said as he slid the cloak open so Harry could see where he was located. When he felt Harry grab hold of his arm, he adds quietly, Hold on tight, Harry, and think only of me. You'll feel the pull. Then it will feel like you are being pulled through the head of a needle. Whatever you do, don't let go of me. They promptly arrived in Diagon Alley within sight of the doors to Gringotts. Harry walked up the stairs and through the doors before taking off his invisibility cloak, Remus right at his heels. The guards on duty swarmed the doors right after his entrance, flipping signs and lock-warding the doors before taking up guard positions. Griphook steps forward. Greetings, Mr. Potter, if you would come this way? Harry inquired energetically. Hello, Griphook. I hope I didn't cause you too much trouble. How did things go? They share small talk as Griphook leads Harry through the labyrinth of hallways that lead to his manager's office. Harry looks away from Griphook to see the names on the door written ornately in gold lettering.
O. Tolmras Steingrinder.
The ancient house of Myrrlyn, the exalted and ancient house of Asterii, the noble and ancient house of Black, the righteous and ancient house of Potter with Nar Singh Griphook. Griphook, aren't you my account manager? Harry asked softly. Yes, Mr. Potter. But as I've never handled an account of this magnitude, I enlisted aid to assure I didn't make any mistakes. O.G. Talmraz Stonegrinder only handles the oldest of accounts. He was impressed when I understood the implications of you taking on such an inexperienced manager and offered to tutor me in the old ways. I am very proud to be his apprentice. It is a much sought after and honorable position. He will oversee my handling of your account, making sure that you in no way pay for my inexperienced mistakes. They step into the office where Griphook encourages them to get comfortable in the comfortable chairs. Stonegrinder enters a few moments after them. He walks over to Harry and voices his pleasure. Mr. Potter, I am pleased that you have agreed to my participation in managing your account. Griphook assured me that you would have no problems, but I wasn't so sure. Many wizards don't take well to goblin interference in what they consider their business. Harry assures the goblins, Mr. Stonegrinder, I am not most wizards. I choose Griphook because he was the very first magical being besides Hagrid that treated me with any respect. If he feels that he needs help on the account and was able to procure the best, who am I to question his wisdom? He knows his limitations better than I. I can see from the names on the door that you have experience with old and somewhat prestigious accounts, so I really have no problem with both of you working on mine. I don't know what all the Potter estate encompasses. I don't even know the exact amount of money in my trust vault, as I've never received even one bank statement or in fact even a letter from Gringotts. Dumbledore had my key until Hagrid picked me up at the start of my first year. Hagrid handed the key to the goblin the first time, and the goblin gave me the key after he opened the vault. I found out by accident a few weeks ago that there was more to my inheritance than just the vault that I've been using, but couldn't get any details. Can you please tell me what I've inherited and what my responsibilities are? Angry on behalf of his new client, this strange young wizard that treats everyone with respect. He pulls out a large thick folder and starts. Mr. Potter, let's start with your parents' will. I, James Edward Potter, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this my last will and testament on this day, October 30th, 1981. It is with sadness I note that my children were not able to stay together, but hope that the separation is in the past, and that they can see each other as brother and sister as should have been done from the beginning. In the event that both Lily and I die together, Harry should live with his godfather Sirius Black. If for some unfortunate reason Sirius is unable to take Harry, then he should go to Dragorian Asterii, and if he is also unavailable, then Harry should go to Ronan. Hunter, then to Lucius Malfoy. Moony, I would have him go to you after Sirius, but with the unfair and unreasonable werewolf legislation of Fudges, they'd turn you down no matter what I wanted. The Gem Vault is to be divided equally between my two children, as are the Sickle and Canute Vaults. To my much beloved son Harry, I leave the title and responsibilities of Lord Potter, as well as 65 million galleons. You also get all the men's jewelry, clothing, trunks, weapons, and other accessories not going to your sister. Harry, please be kind to your sister and let her have a look at the portraits for any that might interest her, as well as some of the furniture and knickknacks. There's enough of that stuff in vault storage at Gringotts for 30 houses. I leave you the house in London, the cottage in Hogsmeade, the manor in Wales, the cottage in Godric's Hollow, and Potter Castle in Ireland. There is also a vacation home in Greece that is to be shared between the two of you equally. Harry, you receive all the stocks that I have in the following businesses. WWN, 52 ownership. Daily Profit, 49 ownership. Glad Rags, 47 ownership. Madame Malkin's Clothes for All Occasions, 45 ownership. Magical Menagerie, 50 ownership. Jerry's Books and More, 92 ownership. Gravener's Trunks and More, 53 ownership. Please take care of each other and know that I love you both more than words can possibly say. James Edward Potter, Earl of Solaris, witnessed by Lord Sirius Black, Baron of Blackmore, and Lord Frank Longbottom, received and witnessed by Fongjaw, Head of Wills and Inheritance. Any questions so far, Lord Potter? No. Stonegrinder, please continue. Stone Grinder picks up the next parchment and starts reading. I, Lily Amanda Evans Potter, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this my last will and testament on this first day of October 1981. Harry, my darling son, gets everything of mine. Harry, what most didn't know was that I was adopted by Charles and Rosalie Evans. My birth name was Evans though. My parents were Edward Marcus Evans and Marantha Evanstar. He was a wizard and she was an elf. They were both killed when I was a small baby in what later became known as the Massacre of Marisube. All but 4 people of our village were killed. I was one of those 4 survivors. I leave to you, my son, the Evans vault, which I never touched other than to remove a few personal items. Some 17 million galleons, 546,000 sickles, and 390,752 nuts. Gems valued at 2 million galleons and some assorted jewelry, artifacts, family treasures, and portraits. I am sure you've learned by now that you have a sister, and I regret being jealous and horrible as to prevent you knowing of her as a baby. Love each other now, and don't let petty jealousies get in the way of your relationship. James is stating our wishes for your guardianship in his will, so I won't repeat them here. Do me a favor though, son, and take care of my dear friend Remus Lupin. He is very smart and thoughtful and would be your godfather and guardian if not for his little monthly problem. We would have him even with the problem, but the stupid ministry likes to tell people what they can and can't do with their lives. I love you always and forever. Lily Evans Potter. Witnessed by Minerva McGonagall and Sirius Black, Baron of Blackmore. Received and witnessed by Fongjaw, Head of Wills and Inheritance. Stone Grinder gives Harry a few moments to absorb the details of the wills, then inquires, Lord Potter, do you have any questions of me? Harry thinks a moment, then asks, what do you know about my sister? Is she still alive? Do you know where she's located? Can she be brought here? Stone Grinder replies with a grimace, we don't have a lot of details about Lady Diana, but she is not dead and she has recently returned to Great Britain. Up until 4 days ago, none of our owls could pinpoint her whereabouts, but a message was delivered to her just 8 hours ago. It is our hope to meet with her soon about her own inheritances that are as yet unclaimed. Confused, Harry asks, her inheritances? Griphook explains, Lord Potter. Harry, frustrated at the continuous use of his title, demands, stop that. Please just call me Harry. Griphook replies, of course, Harry. Your sister had 5 fathers, of which only one is still living. We've been holding her inheritances in hope that she'd come to claim them. Dumbledore also set himself up as her ad litem guardian when she disappeared, which is totally illegal as her remaining father is fully competent and not housed in Azkaban. Good, more evidence to use against him when we finally take him to trial. Did you have any problems reclaiming my property? Dumbledore was in here yesterday to return your keys. He made the mistake of thinking he could return part of them and keep the rest. Stone Grinder set him straight and charged his vault the cost of changing the wards and locks to all your vaults. There was also some difficulty with getting some of the money taken back till the Goblin Council decided that since he was your guardian, Albus Dumbledore was ultimately responsible for all withdrawals not done by you. We've since reclaimed all the funds totaling 220,800 galleons, which is the primary 192,000 galleons plus the 15 interest of 28,800 from his personal vault. Many of those who made the withdrawals, like the Weasley matriarch, the youngest Weasley children, Hestia Jones, and Alistair Moody, to name just a few, didn't have near enough funds to cover what was taken or even in many instances the interest fees. All the items and books were recovered without incident. Harry, so angry his eyes were mere slits but glowing so brightly they were almost blinding, states clearly, make sure that no one can get into my vaults but me from this point on. I will not support his little faction of soldiers. If he wants a private army, he'll have to pay for it out of his own pockets. Since my sister isn't here to say it, I will remove him from her accounts. He is no way her guardian. Send a letter to her father explaining what's happened and what is likely to occur since we've removed his access to my funds. Find out if he's doing this to any other orphans and let the proper authorities know. With a very scary grin, both Griphook and Stone Grinder enthusiastically agree. When that paperwork was finally out of the way, Stone Grinder holds out a pillow on which sits a signet ring. It's black and gold. Very old, the design on it depicting a griffin supporting a dragon wearing a crown. Griphook states quietly, The Potter family has almost always supported the royal family and the crown Harry. It happens so often that the king, Stone Grinder interrupts. I believe it was King Draco Essalon Asterii Bacco. Yes, sir, it was King Essalon, as he liked to be called, that crafted this ring for his most loyal and supportive follower in the year 253. He wanted it to depict your ancestor's station. Your ancestor Roberto Potter became his Grand Vizier and was for many years the court's High Mage. He was very important to magic society and magical beings. Take your ring, Lord Potter. Harry reaches out hesitantly, takes the ring in hand. The moment he touches it, he feels a tingling rush through his body. When he slides it onto his finger, being unmarried and not seriously involved, he chose his left-hand ring finger. He is thrown back against the chair so hard by the influx of magic that the chair nearly topples over. His limbs quiver and jerk almost as if he's under the influence of the Cruciatus curse. It stops after a couple minutes. Remus was frantically trying to see what was wrong, even almost attempting to pull the ring back off. Harry opens his eyes, which were a deeper green than before but seemed to glow almost with an inner fire. Remus demands frantically, Harry, are you all right? Speak to me, please. Harry tentatively replies as he looks up at his friend, eyes shining brightly. I'm okay, Moony. The ring, it released a lot of magic blocks someone had put on me. The rush of magic flowing without blocks was somewhat unsettling at first. I can feel it getting stronger as we speak. It's amazing, Stone Grinder states uncertainly. You had blocks on your magic? Harry nods while saying, apparently. I didn't know about them, but the ring took offense and blasted through them all. Scrunching up his face for a minute, he adds, there were 5 of them, one even semi-blocking my core. One was blocking special abilities like Animagus and Metamorphmagus abilities. Another was blocking memory and comprehension. It's actually amazing that I've gotten as far as I have in my studies with that one on me. Mr. Harry, we'd planned for you to do the heir's blood ritual next, but with newly broken blocks you need time to acclimate the newly flowing magic into your system before doing it. Let us reschedule it for Monday at 8 a.m. Will that work for you? That will be fine, Stone Grinder. I appreciate your concern. Were you able to ready a house for me? Griphook answers in disgust. Unfortunately, Harry, all your homes were left in disrepair. Mr. Dumbledore closed them all and has had no upkeep performed on them for the last 14.5 years. We've rounded up your house elves. There were some abandoned at each home, as well as the ones he took to Hogwarts, and put them to cleaning up the London house and the one house in Hogsmeade for you. They will be ready on Monday. They both are already heavily warded, and with the added wards we are providing, no one can get in unless they are accompanied by you or your head house elf, whose name is Zaki. You may take anyone in with you that you like, and if you choose, key them into the wards, but it is advisable to choose very carefully who you give these rights to. The houses are also under Fidelius. Currently I am your secret keeper, but we can change that when you choose to move in, or if you wish it can remain unchanged. As your account manager, I am unable to tell your secrets to anyone not with you or authorized by you in person. It is goblin magic, one of our strongest spells. Stone Grinder and I both chose to use this ancient magic to protect you, as you've already been hurt, even if unknowingly, by us goblins. This way it will not, as it cannot happen again. Chapter 7. Diana awakens and Gringotts surprise. Wednesday night at Slyth Tor. Voldemort paces around his study while waiting for his potions master to finally make his appearance. He didn't have to wait long. Severus Snape knocks lightly on the study door before entering. He quickly notes the impatience in his lord's mannerisms, then speaks quickly, "My lord, I've the Memoriam Restorium draft ready. I made enough for 5 doses. I also have an interesting bit of information about Dumbledore." "Really, Severus, please enlighten me. What's going on with Dumbledore?" Snape states almost happily, "It appears, my lord, that Dumbledore has been removing things from the Potter ancestral vaults without permission. In a surprising move, the goblins reclaimed everything taken and even charged interest and replacement fees on money and broken artifacts. Not too surprised by the act of thievery, but interested in how he came by the knowledge." Voldemort inquires, "How did you come by this knowledge, Severus?" "I can't believe that Dumbledore would tell you outright that he'd been taking the Savior's possessions without his permission." With a disgusted smirk, Snape replies, "He called Minerva and I up to his office late the other night. He'd apparently been perusing a tome on wards that he'd borrowed from the vault when it disappeared. from between his hands, followed by about 20 different magical objects and numerous other books from all around his office. We walked in on him mumbling and stumbling about his office in a near fit. Then one of those scarlet notification letters appeared on his desk telling him that Lord Potter had demanded the return of everything taken from his vaults without his permission since the death of his parents. They also demanded the return of all his vault keys. He decided to try and keep a couple back. They charged him the full 1,000 galleons per key and changed them all anyhow. Apparently all the funds he's had withdrawn, whether he did it himself or not, have also been charged to his vaults since most of his lot don't have two nuts to rub together. The goblins made sure that Potter got everything back that had been taken. Dumbledore has been screeching, screaming and plotting revenge for the last 2 days. His tantrums made it near impossible to brew the Memoriam Restorium draft. It was then that something truly frightening happened. Tom Riddle, the Dark Lord Voldemort whose very name causes fear, started laughing and laughed for a solid 5 minutes. He sobered up quickly though and on a very serious note states, "That's wonderful news, Severus. The more off balance he is, the more mistakes he makes. The better for our side. He's driving Potter right into our arms. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves though, Severus. Call Lucius in. We'll have the two of you take a dose of the draft and move forward from there." Snape leaves through the door beside the fireplace that leads to his master's private library, and comes back a few moments later accompanied by Lucius Malfoy. They approach the still somewhat happy Voldemort with trepidation. "Ah, Lucius, good. Here is the Memoriam draft I had Severus brew up for us. I want the both of you to take it. Lucius, let's start with you because I think you have been tampered with the most." Lucius takes the proffered vial of vomit-green liquid, hesitates a moment, then knock it back in one gulp. The sudden greenish tint to his face telling them how vile the liquid truly tastes. It was only moments later that he falls to his knees, starts keening softly, then tearing at his face in abject horror of what he was remembering. Voldemort wraps his arms about him, pinning his hands to prevent him hurting himself. Tears running from his distraught eyes, he looks up at his master crying softly, How could I? We were soul bonded. How could he remove that memory? How could I forget my mates? My daughter, he took my daughter and has killed all my mates." Severus dropped to his knees beside his friend. "Luke, it's not your fault. It's Dumbledore. He interfered, he played with us like we were chess pieces, and he decided that your mates would be dangerous to his plan. It's not your fault. I don't know why or how he took your daughter, but Luke, he doesn't have her anymore. She's here. She's back with us. She is healing in a bedroom upstairs, Luke, and she's going to need you." It took quite a while to settle Lucius down and into thinking clearly. He was finally realizing that it was Dumbledore's fault that his parents interfered in his bonding and forced a civil marriage with the bitch from the abyss on him. It was Dumbledore's fault that everything went wrong in the Penthiad bond. Well, a lot of that was the bitch's fault too, but could have been prompted by Dumbledore. And they ended up living apart. It was Dumbledore's fault that he forgot about his mates, their bond, and his beautiful child. A soft knock from the door turned all their attention in that direction. Voldemort states, "Come in." The door opens slowly and a young, bruised, dark-haired young woman was standing there somewhat unsteady on her feet, holding a royal blue parchment that was edged in gold. She softly addressed Voldemort, "Grandfather, it appears that I need to go to Gringotts as soon as possible." Chapter 8, Dursleys and Gringotts. Thursday rolled around nice and bright. Harry's alarm went off at 5:30, so that he could get up and fix a nice breakfast for his uncle. He was really hoping to avoid more arguments with them. He figured that Vernon and Petunia would be easy enough to handle so long as they feared him using magic on them and or the loss of their income. He was setting breakfast on the table when he felt the shudder of the house as his uncle and cousin came downstairs. Heaven forbid they actually miss a meal. He put out the platters and was just taking his seat when he heard the mail slot rattle. Vernon shook out his newspaper as he stated pompously, "Boy, get the post." Harry looks at his uncle for a moment before carefully stating, "I don't mind helping with the cooking as I like to cook. I don't mind helping with the gardening as I like doing that as well. Keeping my room clean and helping to clean the kitchen and bathroom again, not a problem. I am not your servant and I will not continue doing everything in this house as if I was. Dudley is capable of keeping his own room clean, and since you don't permit me in there, I guess it will be up to him or one of you to keep the sitting room clean as well. Will not do upkeep on something I am not permitted to use. I will not take your abuse any more. I will not be referred to in a derogatory manner and will not answer to anything other than Harry, Harry Potter, or Potter. My post does not arrive by Muggle means, therefore I will not be errand boy and run to collect it. If you don't want to get it yourself, then I suggest that you have Dudley get it for you. As Vernon starts turning purple in his anger, Dudley starts cleaning the breakfast platter onto his own plate. Harry, knowing that if he doesn't maintain his stand now they will continue walking all over him, raps Dudley on the hand with the spatula while stating clearly, "That platter of food is for everyone. If you insist on eating enough for 5 people you will start cooking it yourself." Screeching in anger, Dudley lurches to his feet, nearly knocking the table over while Vernon draws his fist back as if to hit Harry and yells, "Boy, you will remember your place. You will do as we tell you. You are not the boss in this house. Let Dudley have as much as he wants for breakfast. He needs his energy for boxing practice. Now you will go get the post. Vernon, you will cease your torment of Harry. Need I remind you that you did not get that promotion or the raise yet, and until you do we need that money?" Her voice getting shriller by the second she screeches, "Dudley, get the post now." She shudders with images of goblins eating their still living, breathing, screaming bodies. Face turning an even deeper shade of purple, Vernon grates out, "Now pet, we can't let that freak walk all over us. He is here by our sufferance and he must live by our rules. That's what the Doublemore guy said. Give him strict supervision and discipline, and that's what I am doing." She rabidly turns on him. "If one of Dudder's teachers had told you that, would you treat him as you have Harry? Would you have? Answer me, Vernon. No, you wouldn't have. You would have told him where to get off and how fast he could do it. You know what we've done to him is and always has been wrong. Yes, he is abnormal, but we've abused him. I let it happen. I admit it. I let it happen because I've always hated magic. It was strange and made my sister even more different from me than she already was. She was always different, you know. Pretty and well liked by everyone. Even when she lost her temper, everyone loved her. I admit it. I was jealous of her and let that lead to unwarranted hatred and abuse of her child. I will not continue it now. I will not be eaten by goblins, and I will no longer use and abuse my nephew. If you and Dudley can't understand that, then perhaps it's you who needs supervision and discipline." She takes a deep breath and looks over at Harry, who is staring at her, as if she was an alien from Pluto, and she speaks. "Harry, I truly am sorry for my behavior. I hope that the changes I am trying to make help you understand that it was nothing you've done that caused it. We just didn't try to recognize you or your needs." Dudley comes slowly and carefully into the kitchen with the post in hand and quickly hands his mother the post, then slips around the table, making sure he in no way bumped Harry before devouring his, to him, meager breakfast. It was a very silent 10 minutes later. Petunia squeals in delight. "Vernon, look, we've won a 3-day all-expenses-paid trip to Euro Disney. Can you get Friday off? The flight leaves at 11 a.m. I think this is just what we need too. You, Dudley, and I can take this little family trip and get our heads on straight. Come to an understanding of this situation and closer as a family, while Harry gets caught up on things for the summer here." Vernon, his color coming back down into the red range, looks over at Harry and states carefully, "Boy, Harry, we will be going on this family trip. You will be staying here in our home. Do not burn it down and do not break anything. We will make changes, and you will too, to accommodate this new feeling of your aunts. Harry, for today all I want you to do is clean up the 2 door statues that the delivery man destroyed with his van. May as well throw out the 3rd one too, as the set is ruined, and mow the grass. Dudley will vacuum the entire downstairs for his mother." Harry, realizing that Vernon was really concerned about Petunia's outburst, well, he was too, but wasn't going to let on, answered politely and with respect, "Okay, Uncle Vernon, and if it's okay with you, I'll start on the weeding today too. The weather is supposed to be a little cooler today and tomorrow than over the weekend. That will be fine." Dudley finally processes what his father had said and stutters out in indignation, "Vacuum the downstairs? But that's the freak's job. Why can't he do it?" "Mummy, I don't do housework, that's Harry's job. He's the servant. Dad, you've always said he was good for nothing but chores and the work you can get out of him. Make him do it." Upon hearing his own words thrown back in his face, Vernon realizes what he may have created and hopes that a little firmness will help to rectify the situation. He states unequivocally, "If you wish to have that new game system with all those games, then you will do the little chores you are assigned, Dudley, without whining. Be a man about it. That's my boy, and remember, we'll be having that wonderful trip over the weekend with no chores or worries." It was hours after Vernon had left for work when Petunia found Harry cleaning up the destroyed statuary. She was just about to call him in to talk to him when she noticed him staring in confusion and worry at the broken pieces of marble and plaster. Finally she decided, "Harry, is there a problem?" Not knowing how to ask it without mentioning magic, Harry decided to ask a few questions. "I'm not sure, Aunt Petunia. When did you get these statues?" She thinks for a moment. "We got them not long after we brought Dudley home from the hospital. They were a representation of our family." "Why? Well, you know that stuff you don't like talking about?" he asks, looking up at her. When she nods, he continues, "It's all over these things, Aunt. And it's not the good kind either. It's not like the wards. I can feel them. They feel almost like a blanket or a nice comfy jacket. The stuff on these makes my skin crawl. I think I need to contact someone about this, Aunt Petunia, someone that I trust. Is that okay with you?" She takes a deep breath, thinking about what he said and trying not to blame him. She couldn't figure out why everything always was his fault, but something was making her always blame him, and while it was convenient, it wasn't right. She decided, "Harry, write your friend. Dudley has gone to Pierre's house for the day and Vernon will be gone till late, so do it now so there are no problems. I will be going out as well and won't be back till dinner." Harry nods as he's heading inside. He goes up to his room, pulls out parchment and his favorite ballpoint pen. "Mooney, something weird is going on here. I need to see you today, as soon as possible, and I have Aunt Petunia's permission, so please do hurry. We'll explain when you arrive. Keep this between just us. As always, your cub, Harry." Hedwig hops over to the desk, waiting for him to attach his message. He whispers urgently to her as he rolls it and drops it into the little cylinder he created for carrying messages. "Girl, take this too, Mooney, okay, and don't let anyone else see it. Try and give it to him while he's alone if possible." She chirps softly and nuzzles his ear before launching herself out the window. Rot br, rot br, rot br. Diana Black and her escort portkeyed into Gringotts. Looking around, she spied their escort into the more secure part of the facility and her manager's office. "Mr. Stone Grinder?" she inquires softly. The aged goblin steps forward, a solemn look on his face. "Your Majesty, it's a pleasure to finally meet you. Welcome to Gringotts, London. If you would come this way." He finished by gesturing down the long corridor, which was lined with regally dressed and well-armed goblins standing at attention. Diana asks hesitantly, "Are you sure you have the right Diana Black?" Stone Grinder replies as they traverse the corridor, "Yes, Your Majesty, I am sure that I've got the correct Diana Cassiopeia Ursula Nyssa, Asterii Hunter Potter Malfoy Black." After opening the office door that had written on it,
O Tolmros Steingrinder.
"The ancient house of Myrrlyn, the exalted and ancient house of Asterii, the noble and ancient house of Black, the righteous and ancient house of Potter with Nar Singh Griphook. Your Majesty, please have a seat." "Lord Malfoy, you as well, please," Stone Grinder said as he gestured to two comfortable chairs near his desk. He looks over at Griphook and states, "Griphook, please bring refreshments, as this is a rather involved process." He looks over at Lucius and asks, "Do you wish to include her trust in today's endeavors?" Lucius thinks, then states clearly, "She was to receive her trust on her 16th birthday, so tell her of it first." "Very well." He shuffles through several files and starts, "These are the actual words of your father Lucius Malfoy when he created this trust for you 16 years ago." He sets out a large moonstone and casts start at it. A ghostly image of a much younger but hardly changed looks her over with pride and smiles sadly as he starts speaking. "I have been accused of many things, the least of which is greed. Therefore I am setting this aside for you, my beautiful daughter, in such a way that once the papers are signed it can never be taken away, only added to. I will never be accused of not doing right by my children. You will inherit this upon your 16th birthday, and I can add additional items until I pass but can never take from it. To my precious daughter I leave 167 million galleons and a title held by my family for over 40 generations, but that has sat unclaimed because none have had a daughter to claim it. I leave you the title of Duchess of Marseilles and the responsibilities that go with it. The villa and property in Marseilles is of course yours as well. I leave you my interests in the following businesses to assure that even if you spend or lose the money you will have a generous steady income.
Wizarding Wireless Network 45 Daily Profit 40.
Wizarding World Ledger 67 Think Wall Street Journal of Wizarding World. Wizards Macy's 56 Wizards Harrods 47. Greenblatt's Pharmaceutical and Apothecaries 79. Father, what does this mean? Diana asks confused. It means that I love you and that I made sure you were taken care of in case something happened to me. Stone Grinder switches folders and asks, shall I continue? She solemnly nods the affirmative and swallows convulsively. Stone Grinder looks at information from another slim folder. This is the Potter Trust. It was left to you in much the same way that the Malfoy was, with the exception that James Potter's death was recorded October 31st, 1981. With the recording of his death, the trust was set to instantly become yours. The Potter Trust is as follows. To my darling daughter Diana, I leave the finances, title, and responsibilities of Lady of Evermore, and the finances, title, and responsibility of Lady of Avalon. You are the first to have these titles in almost 1,000 years to have this honor, as they must go to a daughter born to the line, not adopted or married into. You must be born. You also receive 36 million galleons, as well as all of the lady's jewelry, clothing, trunks, and accessories left from the many past generations of Potter women, to include any of the armor and weapons they may have used. I also leave you the villa in Monaco, the chalet in Graubünden, Swiss Alps, and the enchanted manor in the Black Forest, Germany, and wild Scotland. It exists in both places. You also receive all the stocks that I have in the following businesses. Evermore Wand Wood, 62 ownership. Magical Cores and More Bestiary and Herbalists, 79 ownership. Ilops Owl Emporium, 70 ownership. Kincaid Instruments Music, 37 ownership. Bentley Luggage, Bags and Trunks, 57 ownership. Borgins Books, 82 ownership. The Gem Vault is to be divided equally between my two children, as are the Sickle and Canute Vaults. There is also a vacation home in Greece that is to be shared between the two of you equally. In shock and surprise, Diana asks, Mr. Stonegrinder, I inherited that when I was a baby? Very serious. Stonegrinder replies, yes, or you would have if we could have gotten mail to you. We sent out letters asking for your presence at any Gringotts branch every day for 3 years. They all returned unopened without fail. So we put your inheritances in a Gringotts trust until such time as you could make a personal appearance to handle matters. The very first letter to get through to you was the one you hold in your hand just 2 days ago. You should also know that the headmaster of Hogwarts, one Albus Dumbledore, has been trying to get control of your accounts for the last 14 years. We've kept control and details away from him, but it hasn't been easy. With an almost wolfish intensity and feral expression he adds, of course Mr. Dumbledore helped us along by blocking the reading of the Potter and Evans wills right after their deaths. He also stopped the reading of your father Gregorian Asteriai's will too. His misuse of authority and position was noted then, as well as many other times he's made the same assertions to try to gain access to those same accounts. He may be supreme mugwump of the Wisengamot, but that in no way gives him any authority within Gringotts or over things left in our care. Why would Mr. Dumbledore want my property? She asks confused. Lucius Malfoy inserts, it's not the property he's after. He's after the money and prestige that comes with being your guardian. He did the same with young Harry. He forced magical guardianship of him, through the Wisengamot, sent Harry to live with Muggle relatives that absolutely abhor magic. We know they've abused him, and Dumbledore has always known about it. You are a very important person in the magical world, just like Harry, although for different reasons. He's famous for surviving a curse that no one has ever survived. He also holds several important titles passed to him from James. You hold several titles left to you by all of us, and you are famous for being kidnapped and missing for 14 years. The prestige he would get from being in control of all those positions, and ye gads the money alone, well, it's unimaginable. I'd bet this is the reason he's constantly trying to get anti-goblin legislation through the Wisengamot, because of their interference in their plans. Of course he disguises it as societal improvements. She sighs heavily, sad that her brother was abused by someone he should have been able to trust. Looking very sad, she tells Stonegrinder, please continue. Mr. Gregorian Asteriai died the same night at the Potters. As I previously stated, Dumbledore blocked it from being read here, but a copy was also activated upon his death on Draconali. King Dragorian's will is as follows. My sweet darling daughter, if you are hearing this, then I am gone. I do so wish things could be different, but if wishes were galleons, I'd be the richest man in the world. See, I've an ability I've not told anyone about. I am a seer. I don't do those flaky trances and strange voices. I get flashes and have learned to put them in a pensive. When viewed, they tell the future. So far, they've never been wrong. I've recently seen my end, and it's not far away. So I've set my affairs in order. That included creating a plan of action, a temporary ruler, while your people waited for you to grow up. You will become queen the moment I die. There is no undoing this. I have created a plan in which my strongest advisor will act as regent for you until your 27th birthday. Hijen Kukarani is my right hand and the man I left to take over as regent till you grow up. If you know him, wonderful. If you have yet to meet him, do not worry, as he has only your best interest at heart. I have made sure of his loyalty through spell, potion, and binding ritual. He will be as an older brother to you, forever family even though you share no blood. Know this, baby mine. You will be a wonderful queen. Have faith in yourself as I do in you. You've ruled my heart since the moment you were conceived. Your people will easily follow. My sweet darling daughter, I leave you the rank, title, and responsibility of, as well as the throne of Draconali. Hereafter you will be known as Queen of Draconali. I am so sorry, my little hatchling, that I am not there to show you the ropes, or to help you through the transition as is proper. Personal vaults. Galleon vaults 147 million galleons. Sickle vaults 17 million.
Knut Vault 3, 000, 000.
Gems and jewelry vault 12 million galleon value. Clothing, accessories, armor and weapons, ancestral wands and staves, magic artifacts and books. You should note, sweet one, that there are other vaults as well that belong to our kingdom which are yours as well. They are in your hands as well, but these listed here are for your own personal enjoyment. Spend wisely or spend frivolously, it's your choice. All your needs will be provided through the kingdom. Personal homes furnished and livable. Apartment flat in London. Small villa in Ear, Paris. Small manor in Ear, Rome. Mansion in Virginia, USA. Castle Draconali found on the Isle of Drakner. Details on these properties and numerous businesses are listed separately in this file. Stonegrinder looks at Diana while saying, Your Majesty, I have one more will to read to you today. It is for Ronan Hunter. He reached out, putting a large star sapphire on the table, and activated it with a spell. A youngish dark-haired green-eyed man appeared. He eyed those present, nods at Lucius, and then smiles softly at Diana before starting. My sweet daughter, it's been forever since you were taken from us. We've never stopped looking for you. Our lives are so empty without you here. I had hoped to live to see you again, but I see that it didn't happen. My dearest darling Diana, I leave you everything that is mine. The 4 houses, Wilderness Retreat in Colorado, USA, Sunset's Door in Corsica, Hunter Haven in London, Safe Haven in Portugal. They have all been heavily warded to allow only those of the blood in. Your family ring is the key. 27 million galleons, 345,654 sickles, and 256,789 nuts. All of the family gems and jewelry. We have 2 businesses that we own outright that have supported us through good times and bad. They are Magical Bestiary Preserve. We preserve the animals mundane or magical and use their key parts, feathers, shells, fur, claws, etc. for their many uses, wand cores, potions, ingredients, etc. We also work on breeding and preserving to make sure they don't go extinct. Stars Home SEC and warding, think ADT with lots of heavy magic, wards, magic alarms, etc. Stonegrinder states, we've arranged for another to do the heir's blood ritual here on Monday morning and would like to arrange for you to take it at the same time. We would like to precede the ritual with the reading of Sirius Black's will. We were waiting for your appearance to resolve that situation. Will you be physically able to undergo such an arduous ritual? We know from previous trials that it is quite taxing and physically challenging. Diana raises her head at her implied weakness and states firmly, I will be healed by then, sir. It will be no problem. I am quite used to challenges and physical damage, so it is of no consequence. She places the family rings on her fingers, collects the large bundle of papers which Lucius puts into a magical briefcase, and they take their leave, stopping only for a quick look into the main vaults for each family. She gathered a few items that caught her fancy, and they portkeyed back to Slyth Tor, where Tom Riddle waited impatiently for them. Chapter 9: Dark Idols and Dark Lords. Harry was waiting impatiently when he heard the pop of apparition. He waited to see who it was with his wand grasped firmly in his hand. His nerves on edge, he jumped when a knock sounded at the front door. He opens the door and greets a somewhat panicky Remus by holding him at wand point and asking 2 questions. When is the next full moon, and what was my dad's nickname? Remus smiles now that he knows Harry is physically safe. We called your dad Prongs in honor of his animagus form, which was a large stag, and the next full moon is in 3 days. What's going on, cub? You really scared me with that message. Mooney, did you, or any of the other of the bird club, put charms or wards on the 3 statues that were in the front yard? And would wards ever radiate dark magic? Remus frowns and unconsciously slips into professor mode, addressing the most serious question first. No ward will ever give off dark magic because they are the exact opposite of that. As for charms or wards on the statues, they wouldn't have worked. The wards need to be anchored to the property, and crystals are used as anchor stones. The stones are buried deep along the property line with a large one in each corner. The spells are bound to them. The other way is to use an aura ward. It radiates from the most central part of the ward, the place you want the most protected. In your case, it's this property. The field of effect radiates out in a circle with this house and surrounding property being the center of it. That is what allows for you to go to the park or store and still be within the wards. Dumbledore used both types of wards here. The most protective spells and the blood wards are anchored by the crystals, with the more generalized being the field of effect. These types of spells would never give off dark magic though. Not even the blood wards, which can sometimes be considered dark because they are based on blood magic. The protection given by these wards prove that they are clearly light magic and have no dark magic emanations. Now what is this about? Harry, more than a little worried now, raises his wand and changes Remus' clothing to normal Muggle Street wear jeans and a t-shirt with a button-up on top. Not buttoned, Doc Marten boots, then leads him out to the front yard to the 3 statues. Mooney, a delivery man, lost control of his truck yesterday and destroyed 2 of the statues. Uncle Vernon asked me to clean up the debris and dispose of the 3rd statue since the set was messed up. When I went to clean it up, he said, pointing to the marble, plaster, and the trash bin, I could feel dark energy coming off them. I never have before. The only thing I can figure is that when the 2 were broken, it sort of shorted out the spell. I just can't figure out what they did or why it was cast here. After quickly casting Notice Minot spells on himself and Harry, and then on the property, Remus casts Identificus Castrium UN Magicer 1 on the statuary. The pieces glow a dark purple color, and as they watch, they see a red beam form off the unbroken statue that arcs and heads up the street and into one of the neighbors' houses. A dark violet beam comes out of that house directly into Harry. Remus frowns, then asks, "Whose house is that, Harry?" Harry thinks a moment, then replies, "That's the Polkiss residence. Dudley is visiting with Piers today." The spell is called Abhorrence Ricochet 2. It takes and causes bad feelings to build up in one person. Let's call him Target A. But these feelings are all focused at Target B. So say that Dudley is Target A, he would have all these bad feelings build up in him, all pointed towards you if you are Target B. The spell was cast on all 3 of the statues, 1 for each of your relatives. They may start acting different towards you now. Harry's head flies up when he hears this. They already have. Aunt Petunia has been acting really off these last few days. She's mostly ignored me at my request, but today she really went off on Uncle Vernon at breakfast. Then when I mentioned needing to call you, she told me to go ahead, that she was going to go out and wouldn't be back till supper time, and that Uncle Vernon is going to be late. We have to somehow short-circuit the spell on this statue too, and then get rid of them all. What do you think would be the best way? Well, cub, we need to damage the remaining statue in much the same way as these other 2. Can you think of anything short of throwing it in front of a car? Well, how about a sledgehammer? We could bust it real good. But then what? I can feel the dark emanations from the broken pieces. Smirking just a bit, Remus responds, after we destroy the statue, I'll take it back to Grimmauld Place and put the remains in the stasis room. I need to refresh my memory a bit on the spell to find out who cast the magic. When I've done it, I'll let you know the result, then we can incinerate the debris. Will it be safe for me to continue to stay here? Harry asks worried. It should be the safest you've ever been. With these broken, the magic isn't working on your relatives anymore. I'm not saying they're going to become your best mates or anything along those lines, but without the additional animosity they should be at least tolerable. Harry goes to the garage, comes back carrying a sledgehammer which he proceeds to use on the remaining statue before picking all the pieces he can up and putting them in a metal garbage bin. Mooney uses his magic to gather up the pieces that Harry couldn't. Harry glancing around the yard. Mooney, who is supposed to be on duty right now, realizing that no one had approached them since he'd arrived, Remus look around with more emphasis on finding the guard member. I believe Hestia Jones is supposed to be on duty right now. I am rather surprised that she didn't approach the moment she saw me arrive. Looking down at his watch, he sees that they've been working on the problem for 12 hours and quite concerned now. You know, Cub, I don't think you should stay here tonight. Something is wrong, and I don't think it's just these statues and irresponsible order members. Mooney shrinks the can that holds the busted-up mortar and marble, basically all the remains of the statue, and seals the container using magic and pockets it. What about my relatives, Mooney? Will they be all right here? Harry asks with concern in his voice and on his face. They'll be fine, Harry. The spell only created bad feelings in them for you. Without you here, everything will be normal for them. They may still harbor a lot of bad feelings for you as the spell effects wear off, but you won't be here for them to target, and it doesn't affect how they feel about each other. Okay then, Mooney, let's go to Gringotts. I've got to see where I can go, and they've been checking on all my properties. Remus wraps an arm around Harry and operates them to the apparition point in Diagon Alley, where they walk to Gringotts Bank. Rot br, rot br, rot br. Diana and her newly discovered grandfather were sitting on the plush, soft, dark green sofa in front of a low burning fire, talking about small things. Tom trying to ease her, talking about the torture she'd been put through. Grandfather, what's going to happen now? Does father want to acknowledge me? The tired young woman asked somewhat anxiously as she set her dusky rose-patterned tea cup down on the maple side table. His ruby-red eyes shining with an almost foreign emotion as he has known it so little. Tom Riddle replies, Yes, child, he does wish to acknowledge you. He had no memory of you till recently. He'd been obliviated and given memory-blocking potions. I had Severus and Lucius both take the Restorium draft. It was rather traumatic for both of them. Tears in her eyes, she asks, So he cares about me? Oh yes, child, he cares deeply about you. If anyone has told you different, then they were lying to you. All of your fathers loved you deeply. Who has told you differently, child, because you are nothing but wonderful and a joy to be around. Voice soft as if afraid but cold too, Diana stated unemotionally. Guardian always said that no one wanted me. He said that I was worthless and nothing but an aberration, a crime against nature. He said it was abnormal for a child to be born from a union of men, and that I had to be punished for such a crime against nature. Glass rattling with his anger, Tom Riddle declared, He was wrong. Your birth was a blessing. Their bond was a blessing. Their bond was a soul bond and was very special. Someone with more power than brains manipulated them and interfered as much as he could to break it up. He coerced their parents into forcing civil marriages and using special potions to have children, because people with soul mates can only have children unaided with their bonded. Soul bonds can only be broken by death. Eyes glowing with a golden brown glow, she demands, Is this person responsible for the deaths of my fathers? Did he kill James and Ronan? Did he kill Sirius too? Feeling protective, something he hadn't felt for almost 50 years, Tom replied, I suspect so, but have no proof. We are still trying to find something and won't stop searching till we have the one guilty. I promise you we won't stop. With a gentle smile which, had it been seen by any of his followers, would have terrified them, he adds while holding out his hand, Why don't we go find Lucius? She replies with a tremulous smile, Okay. And grandfather, when he looked up and met her eyes, I like you too. Rot br, rot br, rot br. Lucius Malfoy sat down at the desk in his study at Esselwhite Tor, enjoying the feel of the sleek mahogany desk as he opened the dark green parchment that had just arrived from Gringotts. Dear Lord Malfoy, as we told you in our recent meeting at Gringotts, Albus Dumbledore has attempted on several occasions to get control of your daughter's many vaults and properties. Policy must be maintained, so we also need to inform you in writing. Mr. Albus Dumbledore used his power as chief mugwump of the Wisengamot to have himself appointed guardian ad litem to Diana Cassiopeia Ursula Nyssa Asterii Hunter Potter Malfoy Black, your minor daughter. Just 2 weeks after her mysterious disappearance from the wizarding world, and you're denouncing her as being in any way related to you. We at Gringotts knew who her parents were and refused him access to her accounts, something we were unable to do with your minor son by bond Harry James Potter. The Goblin Council decided if you would denounce your own daughter, Mr. Potter's son didn't stand a chance of being recognized as a responsibility of yours. Mr. Dumbledore took this opportunity to access Mr. Potter's vaults and remove funds, magic items, books and artifacts for his own purpose. Even though he was prevented from changing the Potter Trust set up for your daughter, he did make a very blatant attempt to have it nullified, which Gringotts was able to block. All items and property removed have since been retrieved on Lord Potter's orders. It is this retrieval ordered by Mr. Potter that has us concerned about your daughter's situation. We feel that since he's been blocked from accessing Lord Potter's accounts, that he will make more attempts to get to your daughter's vaults and accounts. Emancipated or not, she needs an adult mentor to step forward to speak with and for her on this matter, as the Wisengamot has overturned emancipations before when Dumbledore has pushed for financial control, claiming they weren't mature enough or experienced enough to handle it. Gringotts is willing to make available a tutor for Her Highness for all matters financial, be it money management, property and estate management, or even state management. We will of course notify you of any future occurrences. Yours in profit, O.
Talmras Steingrinder.
The ancient house of Myrrlyn, the exalted and ancient house of Asterii, the noble and ancient house of Black, the righteous and ancient house of Potter. Growling low in his throat at the sheer nerve of Dumbledore's actions, he quickly pens a response to the goblins and a note to his solicitor. Mr. Stonegrinder, I appreciate your written notification of his misappropriation of not only funds but misuse of position and power. I am forwarding this correspondence to my solicitor as we speak with instructions on what actions to take. Please gather copies of all the evidence you have against Albus Dumbledore concerning any of the following accounts: Malfoy, Potter, Hunter, Asterii, and Black. Do include all the activity on Mr. Harry Potter's account as well. If I hadn't been controlled by potion and spell, I would have claimed my proper place as his guardian. He would have grown up in the wizarding world and not with abusive muggles. Please send all the evidence to not only your own legal department, as I would appreciate their assistance in the prosecution of this matter, but also to my own solicitor, Mr. Brandon A. Grafton, of Grafton, Kincaid and Lloyd. Do not notify him of our correspondence, and if he should try to access any of these accounts, then by all means call the authorities and file proper charges. Yours in profit, Lucius Malfoy, Count of Monte Malnoy, Identificus Castrium un Magicer. Basically a spell I created that identifies the spell cast on objects and the signature of the one that cast it. Identify Castor and Magic. Abhorrence Ricochet is a spell that I created myself, which explains why it's not in Latin or from the rolling world. It requires an object to feed the animosity to the focus, who then takes it out on the actual target. It causes bad feelings to build up in someone directed towards someone else. Borrow a few of her people to play in situations in my own backyard. Chapter 10. Petunia arrived home at 8 p.m. to find Vernon and Dudley watching television after having had takeout for dinner, never turning away from the television to even see if she was okay. Vernon greets her with, "The boy left you a note on the counter, pet." Petunia goes into the kitchen, noting that Vernon and Dudley left trash and dishes littering the counters and table. She picks up the envelope that contains the note from Harry and opens it. "Aunt Petunia, those things we discussed this afternoon were not good. My friend and I disposed of them so that they will no longer cause harm to anyone. We noticed something else odd though. One of my Minders was missing from her duty station today. We've checked into it and can find no valid reason for her to be missing. For your own safety, I suggest that you all leave early for your vacation. Take a hotel room at the airport so that you can leave from there. I've left you sufficient pound notes to cover it under your pillow. I've left a means of communication for us there as well. If for any reason you need help, call me. I am speed dial 0. So all you have to do is simply hold down the 0 button and it will dial me automatically. This cell phone is compatible with mine, which does work in my world. Take care. Ever your nephew Harry." Petunia reads the note through a second time, then announces loudly, "Dudley, go pack, we are leaving for the airport tonight. I don't want to have to fight traffic and hordes of stupid people tomorrow." But Mom, my show is on. Dudley whines. If your show is so important, Dudders, then I guess we'll just leave you home on your own while we go and enjoy Euro Disney. Make sure, Vernon, that you have all our papers in order. I don't want to have any problems getting there. It took only a couple minutes before the house shook as Dudley charged upstairs to get his bag ready for the trip. Vernon entered the kitchen inquiring quietly, "That boy, Potter, he isn't going to be destroying our things, is he, pet?" She answers quietly, "No, Vernon. Harry has gone to stay with some of his people. He won't be staying here in our home at all and will likely not be back the entire summer. If he does turn back up, be sure to thank him though for leaving the funds for us to stay at the hotel tonight," Vernon crudely demanded. "Who did he rob? The boy has no money. He's a good-for-nothing layabout just like his father," Petunia softly states as she heads upstairs to finish their packing. His father, James Potter, was no layabout. He was one of their kind's police officers. Not that he ever really had to work since his parents left him a bloody fortune when they died. Vernon spouted, "Fortune. If he's so rich, why don't we have the money? It should be ours for putting up with his weirdness and abnormality all these years." Petunia, finally giving in to the feelings that have been growing for the last few days, growls back, "Vernon, they more than compensated us for taking care of Potter. £1,500 a month was more than enough for his care and expenses. Where did you spend it all, Vernon? That totals out to be more than £21,000. That boy has done us no harm, and if we'd have treated him better, his abnormality wouldn't have acted up quite so bad. Yes, there would have been instances of unexplained occurrences, but without the stress we put on him, there would have been very few of them. You knew this because we both read the papers that school sent us, and you choose to torment him just so you could beat him." Petunia takes a breath, then continues with tears in her eyes. "We treated him horribly, and that is no one's fault but our own. We took money that should have been spent on his care and used it to spoil our Dudley horribly and did nothing for him. Don't get me wrong, I love my Dudley more than life itself, but we did him no favors by having Harry do his homework and chores. We used him to do chores we didn't want to be bothered with and still did nothing for him but yell and scream abuse. Vernon, you told him he was worthless." Finally running out of steam, she whispers almost brokenly, "That boy cares about us still, I don't know how or why, but he does. It may not be the love we could have had, but because of his feelings he wants us away from here for our own safety because those statues had dark magic on them. He left us money so that we could be safe. I hope that he can someday forgive me because I feel horrible about what we did to him. He is my sister's son." Screaming in his face, "My sister, Vernon, who was murdered by dark freaks for no reason other than she was good. We told the boy that his parents were trash. Well, he knows the truth now, Vernon, and guess who he sees as trash? We should be ashamed, and all you can think about is taking more from him." Vernon, paler than anyone has ever seen him, picks up the suitcase that Petunia had set by the steps and gently guides her to the car. "We'll buy whatever we don't have while on the trip. Dudley, get in the car now. Daddy, I just need my laptop, Game Boy, PSP, the cartridge bag and disc box from the living room, then I'm ready," Dudley whined. "You've got a minute, Dudley. Be in the car or stay home," Vernon stated emphatically as he walked to the rear of car and put the suitcase into the boot. It wasn't 9 p.m. on Thursday night, and the Dursleys were gone for the entire weekend. Rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br. Kingsley watched the Dursleys leave, worried that there was no sign of Hestia, who should have still been on duty when he'd arrived, or Harry. He waited to make sure the Dursleys weren't returning, then used Alohomora on the back door and started searching the house for any sign of Harry. When he found absolutely no sign that the boy had ever been in the house, he quickly apparat to order headquarters. He rushed to the fire, grabbed a handful of flue powder, throwing it into the fire he calls out, "Hogwarts headmaster's office." Dumbledore answers, "Kingsley, why are you not at Privet Drive?" "What's wrong, Headmaster?" "No one was on duty when I arrived at Privet Drive tonight. I watched as the Dursleys packed and left for a weekend trip. There was no sign of Potter anywhere. All his things are missing from the house. It doesn't look like he's ever even been there." With a heavy sigh, Dumbledore replied, "Very well. I call for an emergency order meeting. Do not alert Remus. He'll attempt to run over there and trample any evidence that could lead to us finding the boy. Rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br." Dumbledore demands, "Where is Remus Lupin? Kingsley, I told you to keep the information from him, so he didn't run off and do something stupid. Kingsley from his seat at the oval table. Headmaster, he wasn't in the house. When I finished talking with you, I looked for him. He wasn't anywhere to be found. He had left a note, though, that said he was going to check something out. With a frustrated growl, Dumbledore demanded, "Did he happen to say what?" "No, sir. Just that he was going to check something out and would be back before the next order meeting. In which case it seems unlikely that he is with Mr. Potter." Dumbledore ponders aloud. Molly Weasley shrieks loudly, "With Mr. Potter? Dumbledore, where is Harry? You said he'd be safe with those muggle relatives of his for at least a month. It's been barely a week and he's missing. How are we supposed to get him married to our Ginny if he's gone missing?" Arthur, sitting beside his wife, looks at her in confusion before asking the headmaster, "Has something happened to Harry? What do we know?" Dumbledore looks at Kingsley Shacklebolt and demands, "Kingsley, please give your report and leave nothing out." Kingsley stands and states clearly, "I arrived for my shift at 5:50 p.m. on Privet Drive. I was early, but Hestia Jones was nowhere to be seen. The only person in the house at that time was the boy Dudley Dursley. No sign of Harry Potter anywhere. Vernon Dursley arrived at the location at 6:30 p.m. Takeout food was delivered at 7 p.m. and Petunia Dursley arrived at 8 p.m. They had packed the car and were gone by 8:30 p.m. I entered the house remaining disillusioned and silenced. There was a notice on the table about them winning a trip to someplace called Euro Disney. I think they decided to leave for their trip early, but it doesn't tell us what they did with Mr. Potter or where he might be right now, because he certainly wasn't with them when they left. Everything Potter owned is gone from that house. There is nothing left inside to show that he had ever been there. His room was stripped bare of anything but bare furnishings. No sheets, no blankets, not even a piece of parchment or quill remains. Dumbledore demands harshly, not sounding anything at all like the kind and benevolent headmaster he portrays. "Tonks, find the Dursleys. We need to know when the last time they saw Potter and if he'd planned on staying anywhere besides Privet Drive. Alistair, find the wolf. See if he disobeyed me and made contact with Potter. He may know where the boy is." He looks over towards the 4 Weasley children and the Granger girl and adds, "Children, send letters to Harry. We need to find out where he is and who he is with immediately. He is in terrible danger the longer he is away from Privet Drive." Looking at Severus, he demands softly, "Does Voldemort have any idea that Potter is missing?" Severus Snape answers in his, as usual, snide and biting tone, "No, Headmaster, he does not know that the boy is off being irresponsible again. The Dark Lord has most of his followers off looking for some obscure magical artifact that is supposed to increase his magic and charisma tenfold. He hasn't mentioned Potter at all in the last week." Dumbledore pales dramatically at the thought of another magical artifact falling into Voldemort's hands, especially one that could increase his magic and charisma. "Severus, you better return to Voldemort's side. Please keep us informed on any developments." Rotbr, 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 Rotbr. Harry calls out quietly so as to not wake Remus. "Sidian." A heartbeat later, the glittery little black dragon pops quietly into the room. "Mr. Harry, you have a letter for my master?" "Yes, Sidian, I've had to move away from Aunt's house, so I need to let them know we'll be meeting somewhere else instead of Privet Drive. Can you take this to him, please?" The little dragon tilts his head left and then right before answering, "Of course, Mr. Harry, it will be my pleasure." Harry quickly finishes off the note and hands it to the patiently waiting dragon and watches as he flies up and then pops out of the room. "That was quite an interest sight, Cub. Now, would you care to explain it?" Remus remarks quietly from the couch where he'd fallen asleep. "Well, Remus, remember me telling you that I'd been making some changes? I talked to the goblins at Gringotts, heard my parents' wills, was emancipated, found out I have a half-sister, that Sirius was more than my godfather, he was also my step or bond father. I set some other plans in motion too. I am going to be moving into one of my houses on Monday after the reading of Sirius' will. That's pretty much it." With a half-hearted smile, Remus murmurs, "I was the smart marauder, Cub. I recognized that little drakling. I don't think that's everything, so Cub, now out with it. I can't say anything definitive until I hear back from him. Moony, we made a vow. Okay, Cub, I am also the patient one, so we wait. While we are waiting, care to tell me where we are?" "Oh, this is Marauder's hideaway. Isn't it great? Dad had set up an apartment here in London just for you guys to get together and do things. He figured this way Mom wouldn't go all crazy if something got broken or messed up. I also think he would meet Sirius and the others here. That way Mom wouldn't get more jealous of their relationship. When the goblins and I were looking through the property records, we found the deed for this apartment building and the reserved apartment penthouse. Dad even used the Fidelis charm on this place too, only he made the goblin Ringrax and himself secret keeper. Ringrax told me I could use this place in a pinch because no one had been here since about 6 months before Mom and Dad died. But to not depend on it as the safest place because Lucius Malfoy has been here and his loyalty is still in question where I am concerned. Rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br. Severus returned just in time to receive a message carried by his Drake from Potter. Professor Snape, Lord Voldemort, I found out something about Privet Drive that forced me to move out early. I hope that I have caught you early enough to change our meeting place. I would also like your opinion on including 1 or perhaps 2 others in our oath of secrecy. The 2 I am thinking of being Remus Lupin, as he's proven himself loyal to me, has actually sworn an oath of loyalty to me, and perhaps Lucius Malfoy if he can be cleared of all the memory charms and Imperius that he's been put under. In case you are curious how I came about the information about him, Sirius left me a few things, one of which was contact with a goblin at Gringotts who he'd made aware of everything he knew. Remus was also aware but under spells from Dumbledore that prevented him being able to do anything about it. A subtle warning here: never eat or drink anything the headmaster offers you. The candy is drugged with Veritaserum and calming drafts, and the tea with a form of Imperius potion and loyalty draft. Please let me know ASAP as to your accepting Remus in the oath. I'd like for him to recite it before I mention your visit. I'll fully explain why I relocated after you get here. You will find me at an 29100 Westminster Avenue, apartment 1301, London. It's actually the penthouse on the 13th floor. Thanks, Harry Potter. Rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br. Mr. Potter. Sincerely, Severus Snape. Rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br. Daedalus Diggle carries a newspaper into headquarters and rushes over to Dumbledore and Alistair Moody, who were still deep in discussion over where Harry Potter could be hiding and where had Hestia Jones gone off to. Dumbledore reads, body discovered in compost heap. The Surrey Sentinel Police Beat. Jimmy Olsen. Last evening this reporter was called to the home of Mr. and Mrs. Evan Dundee of Little Whinging, Surrey, where a body had been discovered in their compost heap. Mrs. Dundee had planned a special barbecue dinner for her husband and herself, but when she'd gone out to the yard to make sure everything was in order, what did she find? Someone had torn up her compost pile, moving it from one side of her yard to the other. It was while she was investigating this phenomenon that she discovered that someone had used her compost pile to cover up the body of a woman. The body of a 35 to 40-year-old woman of approximately 5 feet 6 inches in height and weighing 147 pounds, and she was found wearing a purple silk brocade robe over top of her black linen skirt and purple and white silk blouse. Her clothing was of excellent quality, although rather ruined by compost now. There was no purse or ID found with the body, and no one remembers seeing her on Privet Drive or the adjoining street of Magnolia Crescent, so it's unknown what her business, if indeed she had any, was in the area. Rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br, rot br. And 1, I can't do metric weight and measure to save my life, forgive me. And 2, I don't really know how they do addresses in London, so just bear with me on this one. Chapter 11. It really happened. Saturday, 8 a.m. Harry and Remus woke about the same time, showered and made their way into the living room of their hideaway. Well, Cub, are you ready to meet with the big bad wolf? Remus asks softly. Moony, I'm not even sure who the bad guy is anymore. Dumbledore has done so many bad things to me. He put me with the Dursleys, going against everything in my parents' will. He had Sirius locked up when he knew he wasn't guilty. He stole money from my accounts for himself and his toadies. He paid people to befriend me with my own money so they could spy for him. He lies to me every chance he gets and has kept me in the dark about so much. He planned to use potions on me to get me married to Ginny Weasley, then kill me off so the Weasleys would have control of my inheritance. All I see that Voldemort did was listen to a prophecy or part of it anyhow and believe in some of Dumbledore's lies, and in trying to save himself he killed my parents. Everything keeps coming back to Dumbledore's lies, you know. Without his lies about the prophecy, Tom would have never felt the need to attack my parents or the Longbottoms. He would have never felt threatened. So more than Tom, I blame Dumbledore for my parents' deaths. He was the murderer, he just made Tom the tool by which it was committed. You are a bigger man than I am, Cub. I've hated him for years for the murder of your parents. It will be hard for me to change my ways, but I am willing to make any effort for you. That is where we differ some, Moony. I've done everything I could ever since I've learned how my parents died to not hate the one I held responsible. I thought hate would make me more like him than them. I never ever wanted to be anything like what I thought he was. If he could murder and kill easily, then I wanted it to be hard for me. I never want to easily take a life. I've learned, though, that he doesn't do it easily or frivolously. Those are rumors created by his enemies to make him look worse than he is. When I made those realizations and started communicating with some of his people, I discovered what he really wanted to do for the wizarding world. Dumbledore twisted it all up to make himself powerful and the opposing leader. He wants to be in charge, so he created his position of power. Now he's scrambling to hold on to it. Voldemort did kill my parents, but I think if he doesn't taunt me about how they died or mention it very often, then we'll be okay. Dumbledore did all those things? Everything I said and more. Think about it. Even after Sirius escaped and we presented Wormtail to him, he let Wormtail escape and made Sirius stay on the run. Then, after making him run around Europe on miscellaneous dangerous missions, he locked him up in the house that he hated because of all the memories left there. With a look of dawning horror, Remus croaks out, "We are nothing but cogs to him. Tools to use and abuse in his little war. He created the entire thing, didn't he? The prophecy, the murders, terrorist attacks, the stigma, he did it all. That's what it looks like to me, Moony. And I don't intend to let him use me anymore. That's why I reclaimed all my possessions that were taken from any of my residences or vaults. I had Gringotts get my keys back along with interest on all money removed from my vault by anyone but me." A very sad and mournful expression on his face, Moony says, "Thank you for believing in me, Cub. I don't know how I'd get through this without you." Trying to lighten the mood but still let Remus know how he feels, Harry states, "No, Moony, thank you for not taking the easy way. Thank you for being on my side and not using me like everyone else." The doorbell rang, or rather played, as the tones were set to the tune of Yesterday. Harry indicated to Ringo the house elf for him to answer the door. Rotbr, 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 Rotbr. Severus Snape and Tom Riddle were surprised when they arrived at the apartment building. It was very upscale and in a very ritzy neighborhood. It wasn't until they'd arrived on the 13th floor that they realized that Potter owned it all. The entire 13th floor was under the Fidelis and other charms. It consisted of a huge rooftop garden and one very large penthouse apartment, quite tastefully done and still opulent on an apartment scale. Snape rang the bell. His eyes open wide as he recognizes the tune and the softly sang words. "Now I need a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in yesterday." And one, "Mr. Snape, sir, and Mr. Riddle, sir. Master Harry and Mr. Remus, sir, are in the sitting room this way, please," Ringo states as he leads them to the sitting room. Rotbr, 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 Rotbr. Polite greetings passed, they sit down at the breakfast table, passing inane pleasantries before settling down into serious conversation. Tom Riddle starts, "We currently have a truce, Mr. Potter, and as happy as I am about that, I'd like to take it further if possible." Harry responds, "Let's start simply then, and please call me Harry, and this is Remus. I think if this is going to work at all, that will need to be on more intimate terms." Tom nods his agreement as he states, "Those here in this room may call me Tom. I agree, more intimate terms are going to be a necessity." Snape adds with dignity, "Please feel free to call me Severus." Harry states at precisely 9 a.m. after their decisions, "Ringo, please serve breakfast. Tom, please start." "What do you want to know, Harry? When all this started 50-some-odd years ago, what was it you wanted to achieve?" Harry asks. Tom is thoughtful for a moment before he starts. "I wanted a more equal education system. Purebloods and those raised in wizard society were being held back by Muggle-borns. I wanted a separate school for the first 3 years for Muggle-born students so they could be brought up to the same level as those raised with in the wizarding world. I wanted Muggle-borns taught proper wizarding etiquette, customs, and traditions. Instead, the curriculum was changed to favor Muggle-born students. It was made easier and wizard culture was dropped entirely and Muggle studies were added. What is taught in third year now was taught in first year when I started. Dumbledore disagreed with me and fought and had the new legislation passed while at the same time tarnishing my reputation and muddying the water, making it near impossible for anyone to truly find out my purpose. He looked across the table, sadness etched over his features as he remembers. I tried to fight him through proper channels and in every legal way, but the world wasn't ready to let their hero go. They believed everything that Dumbledore said and practically worshipped him. I was made the bad guy and shunned for hatred of Muggle-born students. I didn't like the Muggles that I was forced to live with at the orphanage. It was a very poor orphanage in a very bad part of less than 100. It makes no sense to kill wizards and reduce the gene pool even further than it already is. It defeats the purpose of attempting to save the world. I've only permitted the torture and murder of those that I know to be abusers of children. So you wanted to improve the wizarding world by educating Muggle-born and Muggle-raised in how to be a proper wizard. Dumbledore wants to integrate the wizard world with that of the Muggle, making it more and more Muggle-friendly, so to speak, and discounting traditional wizard beliefs and customs. Severus adds almost snidely, and you wonder why I call him a Muggle-loving fool. Harry interjects, actually no, Professor, I never did, because I saw it from the very beginning. He favored the Weasleys with their odd Mugglist behaviors and Muggle-borns like Granger. He wanted me Muggle-raised, thinking it would make me like them better, but then he put me with Muggles that hated me. When he realized this, he created the animosity icons to increase their hatred and intensify the abuse they rained down on me. He wanted to break me to his will. He wants to make me a one-use tool. He wants me to see him as my savior from all that is bad and evil in the world, so that I will do anything he asks of me. Severus demands harshly, what do you mean created the animosity icons? Remus takes over the explanation. Do you remember what the yard at Privet Drive looked like? Severus nods. It looked like all the other cookie-cutter houses around it except for the 3 hideous statues in the center of the front yard directly in front of the windows. Why? A delivery truck recently destroyed 2 of those statues. When Harry went to clean up the debris, he found the pieces emitting dark magic. He called me to come investigate. We examined the remaining statue and found that it was still functioning. It was the focus of the abhorrence ricochet spell. Each statue focused the hatred and animosity generated by their own feelings and those that the icons generated all towards Harry. The spell was cast within a month of Harry moving into that house. He created the abusive nightmare that Harry lived. Severus looks startled and stutters out, you mean he wasn't spoiled and treated like a prince? Remus interjects angrily, you couldn't be further from the truth. Harry, from the moment he could move, was treated as nothing more than an invisible servant. His bedroom was the cupboard under the stairs till his Hogwarts letter came. He was never given new clothes and hardly fed. Punishments included physical violence and missed meals. He could only use cold water to shower and only has 5 minutes once a day. He had to do every bit of home maintenance they could think of, which has included cleaning the gutters in the middle of winter, all the gardening, painting, all the housework, and since he could reach the stove, all the cooking, laundry, and house cleaning. He didn't even know his own name or birth date until he went to primary and the teacher told him. He was never given new clothes, only hand-me-downs from his grossly overweight cousin. He never received a present for Christmas or his birthday until after he started at Hogwarts, or new things for school, only things that his lard-ass cousin decided he didn't like or messed up. Shaking his head sadly, Remus continues. No, Severus, he was treated as anything but an idol. He was treated worse than a house elf. You know what's even worse? They made him do all those things, convincing him that it was the least he could do since he was costing them so much money. His estate paid them £1,500 a month for his expenses and care, of which he might have been lucky to have had 20 a month spent on him. They've received something over £250,000 or a little more than 50,000 galleons for his care, and spent almost none of it on him and abused him the entire time. Harry has gone to adults at school for help before, and every time someone investigated they were bought off, so he stopped telling people. Sirius had to beg, bribe, and plead with him to get just part of his story out of him because he had no trust of adults. Pomfrey had to report suspected abuse, and you know she had to see the signs in his yearly scan. Yet he was still sent back. Harry felt there was only one adult who cared about him because that adult bent over backwards to win his trust. He's dead now. Harry says softly, "That's not completely true, Moony. I trust you. You didn't know the truth till I told you, but you never questioned me after I explained either. You believed in me even being under those spells and potions, you believed in me. Cub, I knew something was wrong. I couldn't do or say anything, but I knew, and I fought the compulsions that were keeping me from you."
Till Yvonne.
Deciding that breakfast was done, as everyone had pushed their plates away, Harry indicated to Ringo to clear the table. He did, leaving just coffee and tea behind for them to enjoy through their conversation. Tom Riddle was worse than angry. "Harry, none of my people knew. Severus was continuously told by Dumbledore and his agents that watched the house that you were being treated like a king. If we'd known the truth, we would have broken you out of there. We would have saved you. I appreciate knowing that, Tom. It means that we have common beliefs and goals, and now we can really work together. You haven't asked me the one thing I expected. About my parents' death?" When Tom nodded, Harry continued, "I haven't asked because I don't blame you for their deaths." "How can you not?" Tom asked confusedly. "Dumbledore made sure one of your agents overheard the telling of the so-called prophecy. He used you to murder my parents, therefore he is the guilty party. If you kill someone with a knife, do you put the knife in jail or condemn it to death? No, you put the one who used it away, so I'll get justice for my parents when we put Dumbledore away." Harry looked over, suddenly startling them with his quick grin when he demands, "Now tell me about my sister. Where has she been? Is she okay now? Who had her? When can I meet her? Does she know about me? Does she want to meet me? Does she blame me for Sirius' death?" Tom laughed at Harry's unrelenting stream of questions and starts from the top. "Your sister is a lovely young woman. She wrote me a note and sent me an owl that managed to break through all my security measures in its efforts to deliver it. She was kidnapped the night your parents were attacked. We had nothing to do with it. She was treated pretty much as you were, except she was raised to wizarding traditions and customs. Her caretaker was extremely abusive. She almost died the night that Lucius saved her. She very much wants to meet you. Can't be soon enough for her. No, she doesn't blame you or me even for the death of Sirius Black. She doesn't much care for her cousin Bella, but I don't think she really blames her either. You two are very much alike. She was held and educated by a wizard named Pitney." Harry interjects suddenly, "Heinlein. Dumbledore has sent regular letters to someone by that name, and I walked into his office several times, interrupting fire calls between them. Dumbledore kidnapped and held my sister prisoner." His eyes flashing with unrestrained anger and almost immeasurable power. "The bastard is going to pay. He's messed with me and mine way too many times now and caused us more pain and anguish than any one family should have to endure. Being kissed is too good for him. It's the easy way out. He needs to be stripped of his magic and forced to live as someone's slave." Remus interjects, "Pitney Heinlein is Albus Dumbledore's great-nephew. He was a year ahead of us in school and was in Hufflepuff. He was a lot like Peter in that he was a weak wizard and very quiet. He was also something of a pet of Dumbledore's and spent almost all his free time with him." "How did you find out about his letters?" Looking somewhat mischievous and like a marauder about to pounce. "Never give a Gryffindor Slytherin an invisibility cloak and not expect him to use it. That's how I found out about most of his plans. I caught him meeting with Granger and Weasley. They were giving their weekly report on my behavior and what they gleaned about my emotions. Then at Grimmauld Place he and Mrs. Weasley and the slut walked into the room I was hiding out in. They really should check rooms better before discussing their plans. I mean really illegal love-lust potions. He has a lot of nerve promising my inheritance to his freaking toadies. I have on several occasions completely searched his office. I found and read his letters. Not just those to Heinlein, but those to the Wisengamot and Gringotts as well, where he's tried to usurp my inheritance and titles. Never try to pull one over on a marauder." Snape exclaims, "So he isn't being very careful, almost as if he doesn't care if you know that he's behind everything, because even I knew you had a damn invisibility cloak." Harry states he's juiced up on his own power. He's convinced himself that he's greater than anyone else and no one is as smart as he is. He thinks he's unstoppable. He's the great white hope, the new Merlin. He deeply believes in his own propaganda. But we all know he isn't a white wizard anymore. He hasn't been for years. He is well past dark gray and probably into the black by now. If you aren't doing the killings and raids, then someone else is, and his people are the only ones benefiting from them since the propaganda makes them look all that much better. Since they are being made to look like your work, then it goes to say it's very likely him. Tom asks, "Are you safe here? Do you want to come back to Slyth tour today?" Harry looks over between him and Severus, bright-eyed and mischievous. "Is Lucius Malfoy going to come after me?" Tom states, "No one from my organization is going to come after you. I've declared you family, Harry. Unless you personally attack me, you are untouchable. Then I am very safe here, as he is the only other person to know of the existence of this place. If it's okay with you, and works with your plans, then I'd like to stay here for the weekend and then stay with you Monday after the reading of Sirius Will. Remus and I are going to go shopping to get me clothes that actually fit and some other things that I've never gotten because I knew my relatives would just take or destroy it once I was sent home." "That's fine, Harry. Severus has often commented about your atrocious clothing, and we've both wondered why someone as wealthy as you wore such awful things. Now we both know. If you let me know when you are going to Diagon Alley, I'll make sure some of my people are there to distract the fried birds for you. I am hoping to be there tomorrow around 1 p.m. I am supposed to meet one of the people that I talked to about you. He helped me decide to contact you. Will you please tell Lucius thank you? I'd appreciate him easing up on Draco. Him trying to get Draco to befriend me was a surprise when I thought he was my enemy, but now it makes perfect sense. He was actually fighting the compulsions put on him, slipping true feelings through the potions and spells. He wanted his children to be friends. Assure him that we are now. If not for Draco, it would have taken me a lot longer to agree to a meeting between us, even with Professor Snape's assurances. Rotbr, 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 Rotbr. Sunday evening, the Surrey Sentinel by Byron Just So. In an interesting turn of events, the body tentatively identified as Miss Hestia Jones of Water Street in London, that was found mysteriously buried under compost in the Dundee's backyard in Surrey, has disappeared from the morgue. Police and morgue staff are baffled. The woman identified by photo was due at an appointment near Surrey, which she never made. It was later, that night, that she was found dead. When the coroner went to examine the body in hopes of determining the cause of death, the body was gone. Rotbr, 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 Rotbr. Daily Prophet Special Edition by Brent Brokaw. The body of Ministry employee Hestia Jones was successfully recovered from the Muggle morgue. So far, cause of death is unknown, as there appears to be no marks upon her body. Was it the death curse? Was it a poison or potion? Did she suffocate? What was she doing in Surrey, as it was an entirely non-magical area she was found in? Answers to these questions and more as soon as the answers are found. Rotbr, 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 Rotbr. Note: for those interested, the list of things bought by Harry on his shopping expedition is posted on my webpage found at http://yahoo.com group Demon Huntress. Found in the file section under Fiction by Huntress Revised ROTBR. As always, you need to remove the spaces or your browser will gag. Note end. Rotbr, 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 Rotbr. Monday morning 7 a.m. Bright and early, Harry and Remus enter Gringotts Bank. They are immediately approached by one of the heavily armed guards and lead deep into the bowels of the bank to a room that radiated pure magic. Upon arrival, they find Stonegrinder and Griphook talking to Lucius Malfoy, Severus Snape, and a young woman. She was tiny, only 5 feet 3 inches, couldn't weight more than 120 pounds, and 3 had glossy long black hair that hung in loose curls, and the prettiest blue-green eyes in a small, almost heart-shaped elfin face. All this beauty was marred by fading bruises and cuts. Harry walks over, appearing much more confident than he felt inside, and walked directly up to Lucius Malfoy and extends his hand. "Good morning, sir." Lucius looks him over, then with a solemn smile returns the greeting. "Yes, Mr. Potter, it is a good morning for us. It's good to see you looking well for a change. You must have had a change of—" "Yes, sir, I have. There were some odd spells used at my relative's residence, and as I was worried about repercussions from them, Remus and I moved into one of my father's old apartments. I actually get plenty of food, have my own clothing, and plenty of study time now. It's much better. Have my memories back, Harry, and am now compulsion-free, but even with compulsions and mind alterations I could never condone the abuse of a child. Severus tells me that you will be coming to stay this evening. Yes, sir. I just took an extra day so that I could get some shopping done.
I'm glad.
Stone Grinder clears his throat. Not a pleasant sound from a goblin. This way, please, Mr. Potter, Ms. Black. You will each go through a different door, remove all your clothing. And yes, that does mean all. Put on the robes that are hanging in the room, and then go through the door that appears. Harry stepped into a small room not much bigger than a walk-in closet. There were hooks and hangers on the wall and shelves. I guess that's where I am supposed to leave my things. I wonder if I am supposed to leave my wand too. Stone Grinder didn't say. I'll take it with me, and if he doesn't want me to use it, then I'll have Remus hold it for me. Harry stripped down to his black cotton boxers, hanging up most of his clothing on the provided hooks except for his breeches, which he folded and placed on a shelf, put his shoes on the shelf beneath with his socks on top. Then he removed his boxers, placing them on top of his pants, hands shaking only slightly as he started getting keyed up for what might happen during the ritual. He lifts down the soft gray robe, it was practically weightless, and puts it on. It didn't make him feel any more dressed, unfortunately. He no sooner slipped the robe over his head than an ornate black stone door appeared in front of him. He steps into a room made entirely of the same stone. The door was only it wasn't plain, the walls, the floor, everything in this room had runes and protections literally carved into it. Stone Grinder greets him. Mr. Potter, you won't need your wand here, please hand it to someone that you trust. After Harry had handed it to Remus, Stone Grinder continues. Now, Mr. Potter, please drink these 5 potions and then please step up onto the dais and into the center of the star. While Stone Grinder is giving instructions to Harry, Griphook is doing the same with Diana, who handed her wand to her father. Harry, reeling from the influx from the potions, walks with more confidence than he's feeling up the 7 steps of the dais and sees the ornate 13-pointed star deeply carved into the obsidian floor. Once he is in position and his sister is in position on the dais opposite him, they are exactly the same. Stone Grinder ants a phrase quickly in gobbledygook, and a glowing crystal shoots out of the floor in each point of the star, glowing red and looking like living flame. Harry and Diana found themselves unable to move as Stone Grinder is joined by the 13 others in a repetitive chant. As the chant picks up steam, Stone Grinder steps forward, Griphook steps forward, and extending an ornate obsidian ritual knife, it is long and wavy-bladed, almost Chris-like, takes and deeply cuts the palm of both hands, placing them where the dripping blood flows directly into the grooves cut into the floor. Then, to the horror of the 3 watchers, blood started flowing freely and running the full course of the star. As it hit each point, the flame would flare higher, and as the last point was covered, they all flared together, and a circle of pure raw magic erupted from the floor, becoming a solid opaque tower blocking each of the children from view. As the magic hit the ceiling, the children started screaming, at first shrill, then increasing in volume before dropping to complete silence. Harry didn't know what to expect. Stone Grinder didn't tell him anything about what might happen during the ritual, and Remus had no information since it hadn't been done in over 300 years because of the subject dying. He never expected to be frozen in place while goblins chanted over him while he was bled out. It wasn't until the blood started activating the flames that he realized that more was happening than just his blood draining into the star. Then pain slammed into him from every joint, every muscle, every nerve. The Cruciatus Curse had nothing on this pain, and all he could do was scream. At the last flare, when all the flames went at once and magic erupted around him, the pain ceased and he started seeing images. People looking back at him. It started with his parents. They smiled and looked so proud. Then he heard it. James, his father, stated solemnly, Harry James Potter, son and heir to James Edward Potter, Lord of Solaris. Lily states in equal seriousness but with pride, Harry James Potter, son and heir to Lily Amanda Potter née Evanstar, Lady of Harmony. Many faces and voices passed through after his parents, going steadily back in time till finally the last voice. A gruff, strong, and decisive proud male with chestnut hair and gray-green eyes. Ah, my heir. You Harry James Potter are the one I've waited centuries for. You Harry James Potter, son of James, son of Lily, are my one true heir. Many can claim to be of the line, but you are the true direct heir of Gryffindor. Take care of yourself, son, we don't want to see you on this side for many a year. As Godric Gryffindor faded out, an old man that appeared like a sturdier version of Dumbledore without the always-present sly twinkle in his eyes came into view. Yes, son, I am Merlin, and as you've probably discerned, you are my heir. You and your sister are the last of my descendants, and you are my heir. Learn all that you can, for each day of life contains a new lesson, simple or small. At the same time he was experienced this across the room, his sister was going through the same events with a few cast changes. It started with her fathers surrounding her in the circle, each of them claiming her as heir. Then her grandparents, and on back till a dark-haired aristocratic man steps forward with a very beautiful raven-haired woman on his arm. He speaks in a voice like velvet. Diana Cassiopeia Ursula Nissa Asterii Hunter Potter Malfoy Black, heir of Sirius Black, heir of Ronan Hunter, heir of Dragorian Asterii, and heir of James Potter. You are my first ever female heir, and I am proud to call you so. You are the true heir to me, Salazar Slytherin, and my claiming you as such allows your great-grandfather to claim the lordship. Joyous future, my heir, and I do not wish to see you before your 200th year. The black-haired woman giggled at him, slaps him playfully on the arm, then states, Diana Cassiopeia Ursula Nissa Asterii Hunter Potter Malfoy Black, heir of Sirius Black, heir of Ronan Hunter, heir of Dragorian Asterii, and heir of James Potter. You are the only ever claimed heir of Ravenclaw. I have never accepted one till now. Dumi Prouj. As they faded out, one more came into view. She was a strikingly seductive woman with dark auburn hair and vivid blue-green eyes. Finally an heir worthy to claim. You have my eyes, child. I am more than pleased. Diana Cassiopeia Ursula Nissa Asterii Hunter Potter Malfoy Black, heir of Sirius Black, heir of Ronan Hunter, heir of Dragorian Asterii, and heir of James Potter. You are the true heir of Morgan Le Fay, also called Morgana or Ninian in 3. I was reputed to be somewhat dark in my time, but all of rumor is not true. I hope you can overcome that. Darkness doesn't need to dominate to have it time and place. Darkness can rule beside the light. For without dark, what is light? Prosper, my child. Live well, love well. Most of my deeds were done for love. Finally the magic cones started falling and the heirs came into view. They both stood proud and tall, and as the last thrum of magic dropped away, releasing them from their locked positions, they simultaneously dropped to their knees. Harry looked up at Stonegrinder and stated somberly, You forgot to tell me why they stopped doing this ritual on purpose, didn't you?
Rot-beerz, Rot-beerz, Rot-beer, 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 8:50 Uhr morgens.
Directly after the heir's blood ritual, Harry, Remus, Diana and Lucius head to the reading of Sirius Black's will. Diana covers her head with the hood to her cloak, leaving just her eyes visible deep within the shadow of the cowl. Reserved. Will of Sirius Black, room 2016 at 9 a.m. by invitation only. Show the guard your notice or go home. Stonegrinder barely waits for everyone to get seated before doing a head count and starting the will. He sets a crystal cube on the center of the highly polished oak table before incanting a phrase and waving his hand over. Immediately the incorporeal image of Sirius Black appears in all his glory and starts speaking, his voice serious and grave. I, Sirius Orion Stratus Black, being sound of body and mind, do declare before witnesses that this is my final and only valid will. I have a few small wishes that need to be taken care of first. They are as follows. To Remus Lupin, Moony, you've been my brother for years. Please don't turn away from this small token of my appreciation. I leave you 5 million galleons and an already made-out voucher for a complete wardrobe at Madame Malkin's Clothing for all occasions. Enjoy what you should have had all along. To Harry Potter. Harry, you were the best godson and bondson a man could ask for. Do not ever doubt that you truly were a son to me or that I loved you. You are the son of my heart. I wish I could have been there for you, but if you're getting this, then I've done something foolish and died. Harry, I want you to have my collection of motorcycles. They all fly and all have invisibility circuits and muggle repellent charms and non-detection charms. They are also impervious to tracking charms. The leathers that should be worn when riding them, and a very special helmet I had made especially for you. They're all fixed up ready to be ridden and are hidden in the shed behind Grimmauld Place. It will only open for you, so don't worry about them being used, broken, or stolen by the masses. There is also a case to shrink everything down into for easy storage and relocating. Enjoy riding them for me, Harry. I don't know anyone else that loves flying as much as you, and hope that these keep the love and joy alive for you. I know you won't be able to touch the bulk of the Potter estate until you reach your majority, so I also leave you 15 million galleons. It's being added directly into your trust fund, pup. This way I know you can get anything you want or need. Oh, and make sure that Moony gets those clothes. To Nymphadora Tonks. Hey Tonksy, sorry I am gone, but I didn't forget you. I leave you the apartment in Hampstead Mills. It's close enough to OR headquarters that it should make things a lot easier on you getting to and from work. I also leave you 3 million galleons so that you don't have to worry about expenses while holding down such a stressful job. It will also allow you to quit said job at any time without seeing any hardships. To Narcissa Black Malfoy, I wish I could say something nice, Chissa, but I haven't liked you much since you and Lily tore my family apart. You also haven't upheld your promises or duty. I know you haven't searched for my black rose. Too worried that she might get something your son won't. Well, Narcissa, I leave you a potion, already made in a crystal vial labeled in my handwriting. It has nothing but your name on it. See if you dare redeem yourself. If you refuse to take the potion, then I leave you nothing. You will be stricken from the family black forever. No bond, spell, or potion will be able to restore you. Not even my daughter will be able to bring you back. If you take the potion, and it must be done here in front of the goblins, Harry, Diana, Remus, and Lucius, and your feelings do not change from the selfish bitch you were when I died. I leave you 500,000 galleons. If you do realize your mistakes and the horror of what you have done after taking the potion and the witnesses will know the truth and you wish to redeem yourself, I leave you 5 million galleons and the reminder that Diana is your goddaughter, as well as stepdaughter and cousin. To Lucius Malfoy, since you had a civil marriage to the bitch, it is up to you to do away with that marriage. If in truth that is your desire. Our bond has always meant everything to me, and even when I was imprisoned and locked away in Azkaban, I always held to our dedication commitment to each other. The fact that you never visited or sent mail, I blamed on the bitch and her master Dumbledore. It wasn't until my release and the one meeting with you that I realized you had been put under memory charms and no longer even remembered our union or our daughter. I leave to you a memory restoration potion that is so strong, it's been reported to be able to break charms, put in place centuries back in guardianship of the only thing I truly treasure in the entire world. Our daughter, Diana. She needs you, Lucius. Dumbledore had her stashed in Italy with one of his great nephews. He was her original kidnapper and he always knew where she was, even when he claimed there was no information. I've included her last known address since I wasn't able to escape the guards he put on me. Save and protect her, Lucius. Please protect her, Lucius, the first beg of you. Lucius, since I can't leave guardianship to Moony and I know you and Harry have been on opposing sides, now hopefully you can find some middle ground. I would like you and Remus Lupin to be official wizarding mentors to Harry. I have emancipated him fully so he is in charge of his own life, but I know he will need help when it comes to business and estate management and the seat on the Wisengamot and board of directors for Hogwarts. Please lend them your expertise. To Dumbledore, I leave you this and only this, one insane house elf that goes by the name of Creature. He's been completely mined, wiped and retrained and knows absolutely nothing about the family Black, Potter, Hunter, Malfoy or Asterii. You and your Order of the Phoenix are henceforth evicted. Get out of my house. At this very moment everything ever removed from a Black property, vault or shelf, closet, or even trunk will be returned. You muggle-loving fool, did you forget that old pureblood families mark everything magically so that it can be catalogued and retrieved? Never ever screw with a marauder, Dumbledore. I found your pensieve and I know the truth. I may not have the evidence in hand to prove it in court, but that doesn't mean I don't know what you have done and tried to do. I have taken steps to make sure everything you do is scrutinized from the moment of my death to the moment of yours. You are not and have never been guardian to my daughter, magical or otherwise. Not only was I living and had never been formally charged before the Wisengamot with any charges. Her other father by blood and bond, Lucius Malfoy, was still living and capable of being her guardian, not to forget her great-grandfather, Tomas Riddle Slytherin. To Arthur and Molly Weasley I leave 250,000 galleons and a thank you for taking care of Harry as much as you did. Whatever your motives, you did care for him and for that I am grateful. To Ronald Weasley I leave 250 galleons and this advice. Get your head out of your arse. True friendship like what Harry gave you can't be bought like a chocolate frog. You've thrown away something priceless for a moment's gratification. To Hermione Granger I leave you 250 galleons and this advice. Get your head out of the damn books and take a gander at real life. Books are great for information, but there is nothing alive in them. You need to learn that everything valid in life isn't written down and everything written down isn't valid. Oh, and by the way, your authority figures are human too and therefore are fallible. You two have thrown away something priceless for mere trinkets. Grow up, girl, or go home to the Muggle world. To Ginny Weasley, I leave you 200 galleons and a small bit of advice. There really isn't a bucket of gold at the end of the rainbow. You can't make people fall in love with you. Either they do or they don't. I slipped Harry a long-lasting nullifier to all known love-lust potions the last time we were together at Grimmauld Place because I heard you plotting with your mother and Dumbledore to dupe Harry into marriage so you could have access to the Potter fortune. It won't work, it will never work. Have you learned nothing from history? Let me tell you a true story, little girl. A young woman from a well-known and connected, but poor family named Merrippy Gaunt used a love potion to trick her unsuspecting obsession into marriage. When she was pregnant and thought that by now he must love her, she stopped dosing him with the highly illegal potion. Thomas Riddle divorced her and tossed her to the curb, not caring that she was pregnant. She was abnormal and disgusting in his eyes. Tom M. Riddle was born and later abandoned at an orphanage. He later came to Hogwarts. He was treated badly at the orphanage because he was different and odd things happened around him, and he begged the headmaster not to send him back year after bleeding year to a place where people hurt and hated him. But he didn't listen. He even offered to become an apprentice to one of the masters of the school. They declined, saying it was a dying custom. He finally used his magic and got revenge on all those muggles that did him wrong. His father and all the Riddle relatives were murdered in their home. Those who did the most damage to him in the orphanage were killed. He's taken his hatred for those muggles to a new high, you know. He has followers now and it's became a war. So Miss Weasley, my advice to you is look for true love and happiness. Don't try to create it using magic or a potion. There are valid reasons that they are against the law. To Fred and George Weasley, you two were true friends to my Harry, so I leave 3 things to you. A copy of the Marauders' Truest Pranks. It's a book listing and describing all our creations, potions, and spells from our school days. Harry, there is a copy for you and one for Diana and Draco as well. 500,000 galleons for you to invest in your business. I see a need and a place for happiness and fun in this world of strife and turmoil. Is more advice than anything tangible. Remember Gred Forge, that humiliation doesn't make everyone laugh. It took me a long time to see the difference, but I do now. No one gets hurt in a true prank. May you live long and prosper, boys. To Bill and Charlie Weasley, while you weren't close friends with Harry, you did support him when he needed it, so I leave both of you 1,000 galleons each. I also thank you for your support and friendship at Grimmauld Place. It would have been an even worse prison without both of yours company. To Severus Snape, first I would like to apologize for every bad thing I ever did to you. It was not your fault, and no matter how I tried to justify it, it remains wrong. Humiliation is not funny and can never be construed as such. I thank you for helping me to protect my godbond son Harry. Without your potion, Merlin only knows what they'd have done to him by now. I leave you 8 million galleons and a special vault I created just for you that houses many unique and obscure and especially hard to get potions ingredients. Have fun, Severus, you truly are the greatest potions master of our era. I also set up a special fund, the Marauders Full Moon Fund, started with 15 million galleons to pay for wolfsbane potions for any werewolf that wants to take it. I've also made arrangements with the ministry that allows for a new department that doesn't regulate werewolves but helps those who take the potion to find work. No registration is required to get the potion, but if you do register, your name and occupation is sent to a special branch of the ministry. Your name is cleared and you can get a job in your chosen field. They cannot keep people from living because of an unfortunate accident. I don't know when this is being read, but since it can't be read without everyone mentioned being present, I know you are here, Diana. Everything else, including titles, vaults, stocks, bonds, dividends, businesses, all possessions, everything goes to you, my wonderful daughter, my only true blood heir, Diana Cassiopeia Ursula Nyssa Asterii Hunter Potter Malfoy Black. I leave you my sweet black rose, everything except the few items I listed separately that I want to go to specific people. Upon the moment of my death, I ordered the goblins of Gringotts to retrieve anything that has been borrowed or removed from any of the black properties or vaults without my expressed permission. And to do it again at the moment they start reading this will, because I know Dumbledore, he will have just retrieved anything he wasn't done with before. If any items are in Albus Dumbledore's possession, he is to be charged 1,000 galleons for each item. If the items are damaged or broken beyond repair, charge him 10,000 galleons or the price of replacing the item, whichever is greater. If for some reason he can't pay, claim the Dumbledore estate and properties and titles in my name for my daughter. My darling sweet Diana, I wish with all my heart that we could have spent our lives together as a family. When I left Azkaban, I tried to find you, but wherever you'd been hidden, it was too well for me or any of my contacts to find. I tried Angel the whole time I was running from the Aurors. I was looking for you, and even after I let Albus pen me up in Grimmauld Place, I used my contacts to continue looking. I finally did get a clue and left it in Stonegrinder's hands for Lucius to act on. Hopefully you were rescued before irreparable damage could be done. I leave you everything else, which last time I looked was 6 houses, 3 apartments, 5 forests, a tropical island, and a mountain. There's more money than anyone can count. The last time I had the goblins 6 months ago give me an approximation. They figured somewhere around 18 billion galleons and change. If you want an exact accounting, the goblins have it ready for you, just ask for it. Everything is yours, including the numerous businesses, too many to name them all, and the contents of all 15 of the black vaults. Be careful of items that carry dark magic and heavy curses. I would advise you take Remus Lupin in to check out any items you wish to remove. Do not trust Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore. He is no longer a light mage. He has completely lost sight of what is right and wrong and only works to further his own ends. Last but not least, sweetheart, my little rose, Diana, we your fathers agreed that in the event that the majority of us had passed on and you were not in the custody of whomever remained, that papers would be filed making you an emancipated minor. So if at the moment of my death you were not with Lucius, then these papers are put into effect. What this means is that you have access to all of your money and property. The downside is that you also have the responsibility that goes with it. So to help alleviate the stress that suddenly becoming an adult entails, we've decided that you must get training and have mentors for at least 3 years. The only requirements that you must meet are: choose at least 3 financial business advisors. I recommend one be a goblin. He will protect your interests in everything. I also suggest you listen to Lucius here, as he is a financial genius. You may not sell off any stocks or property till you are 25. Take advanced finance, business, and estate management classes. If they are no longer offered through Hogwarts, then hire private tutors. Any student needing specialized training may have privately paid tutors come to the school, so long as their lessons do not interfere with those offered at Hogwarts. So I suggest making them evening and or weekend classes. We want you to be completely prepared to handle your affairs yourself, and not be dependent on a spouse or husband. Sweetheart, it is very likely that you will have a multi-spouse bond, just like we did, since most bonds like ours create the same for children born of the bond. Stonegrinder finishes with, read as witnessed by Bill Weasley and Kingsley Shacklebolt on June 7, 1996. And 4. He then pulls out a large stack of papers and states, would those who received allotment please come to the front to collect your rewards and sign the necessary papers. Dumbledore stands and states grandly, I contest this will. Stonegrinder demands in return, on what grounds do you contest this will? Dumbledore smugly responds, Sirius Black stated that the will couldn't be read without all named beneficiaries being present, and as his blood heir isn't present, it is therefore invalid. I claim the entire black fortune for the Imperial War Orphans Fund by way of my position as Chief Warlock of the Wizengamot. At that moment, the heavily cloaked figure beside Lucius Malfoy states in a clear, soft, slightly accented voice, I'm here, aren't I, Father? I thought I was here anyhow. I know I just sat and heard the entirety of Papa's will, so why would they think I'm not here? Lucius whispers, so only Diana, Narcissa, and Harry hear him. You are here, Diana. It's not a dream or a nightmare. They likely just assumed you were someone else since they couldn't see you for the cloak. The cloaked person states in a soft, clear voice loud enough to be heard throughout the room, You are wrong, Mr. Dumbledore. I am present and have been present for the entire reading. Now do you have any valid reason to contest my father's will? Dumbledore turned a little pasty in color at hearing her voice. Everyone had assumed that the cloaked figure beside Lucius Malfoy was Draco, but now they were seeing how wrong they were. Hermione Granger, still stinging from the comments made by Sirius, jumps to her feet and screeches importantly, That's Headmaster Dumbledore to you. Give him the respect he is due. He's a hero. Saved us all from the Dark Lord Grindelwald and has kept he who must not be named at bay for over 25 years. The young woman turns in her seat and looks to where they are congregated, slowly pushing the hood of her cloak back till they see her clear blue-green eyes and her glossy black hair. She states clearly, "As I do not attend Hogwarts, he is not my headmaster, therefore I showed him proper respect by calling him Mr. Chief Warlock isn't a title that you use when addressing someone outside of court, and there is no title for those who defeat heroes unless they are knighted or ennobled, which he hasn't been. As for keeping a supposed Dark Lord at bay, there is also no title for that, but if my memory serves me correctly, and I believe that it does, then Harry Potter is the one who has kept Lord Voldemort at bay for the last 16 years and not Mr. Dumbledore. You, on the other hand, do not know to whom you are speaking or disrespecting and should therefore control yourself before you end up fined for slander." Now my question was valid. "Mr. Dumbledore, do you have any valid reason to contest my father's will?" Ronald Weasley, not to be outdone, starts. "Look at her sitting all cozy with the Malfoys. She's got to be evil. How do we even know that she is Sirius' daughter? They probably paid her to come here and pretend to be his daughter. He was a Gryffindor and wouldn't be seen dead with a Slytherin." With a look of pure disgust, the young woman stands and holds out her left hand so that everyone can clearly see the black family ring worn prominently on her first finger. "I am exactly who I claim to be, Mr. Weasley, and will warn you only this once. Slander me or any of my fathers again, and I will see you in court. I won't play games with you, as you are no longer a child. For your information, not that I owe you one. My father Sirius Black was a Gryffindor. My father Lucius Malfoy was a Slytherin. My father Ronan Hunter was a Ravenclaw. My father James Potter was a Gryffindor, and my father Gregorian Asterii wasn't in a single house, he was in 3 since the hat couldn't place him. Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw. Houses are nothing more than tangible recognition of your most dominant personality trait. So please do grow up and at least act your age more than your shoe size. Please realize school only lasts for 7 years. And then it's over. When that happens, you are adults without labels to hide behind. School labels don't follow you into the real world." Ron declared belligerently, "All Slytherins are evil. That is a known fact. Everyone knows that almost every Dark Lord was from Slytherin. That's why the Ministry keeps track of everything that the Slytherins do after they leave Hogwarts and does everything in their power to keep them from being successful in the real world." Looking surprised, Diana counters with a very derisive smile. "Grindelwald was from Durmstrang, so had no house affiliation. The Dark Lady Mariana Taluine was a Hufflepuff. The Dark Lord Regan Salvatore was a Ravenclaw, and the Dark Lord Guido Giuliani was a Gryffindor. Those are just the most recent 4 dark personages, not including Lord Voldemort. I don't see the Slytherin pattern that you seem to be spouting. Perhaps you need to resit your history classes, or maybe you need a new instructor. Now, if the rest of your statement is to be believed, then I see that when the Wisengamot meets that we really do have our work cut out for us with so many useless departments, positions, and rules to do away with. No wonder the Ministry is always so hard up for money, with worrying about how honest citizens are spending their time when they should be worrying about terrorists and the lack of education. Now, if you don't mind, I have many important matters to attend to today. Are you and your companions finished harassing me?" Hermione, not to be outdone by Ron, rudely demands. "What do you mean? Then we will have our work cut out for us when the Wisengamot meets? How can it possibly involve you? You are at best only 16 years old. That's too young to take a seat on any council." Looking over to Lucius, who was barely containing his temper as he signed off on the papers presented to him by Stonegrinder, Diana asks quietly, "How do you stand their ignorance, father? Are they really so obtuse?" Lucius nods before answering softly, so only she can hear, that one is something of a know-it-all. She devours the written word but doesn't seem capable of interpreting it into real-life situations. She knows what the Wisengamot is and knows it's made up of members of the House of Lord and Ladies, but doesn't seem to realize that those lords and ladies are members of pureblood families. She reads about our customs and traditions and dismisses them because they aren't the same as those she grew up with or followed and taught at Hogwarts. Diana nods in understanding, then answers Hermione. "Miss Granger, with this last inheritance, I hold 4 seats on the Wisengamot. I was emancipated upon my father Sirius Black's death. That means I am an adult. My father Lucius Malfoy holds 1 seat and Harry Potter holds 1 seat. We also hold equal seats on the board of directors for Hogwarts. So when the Wisengamot meets, I guarantee there will be changes. Not just in laws but in procedures. And no more will a man get sent to prison on the say-so of one member of the Wisengamot. People are fallible, so one single individual's word is not good enough to condemn a man to an eternity in hell. Every accused has the right to speak in his own defense, and to deny that is to turn your back on true justice. She jerks her head sharply and states knowingly with a smirk, Harry isn't 17 yet, he can't take his seat. Eyes glinting and turning a darker color, Diana demands, Are you deaf, girl? My dad stated in his will that Harry Potter was fully emancipated. That means he is recognized in all ways as an adult in not only the wizarding world but in the muggle world as well. Stonegrinder announces after having Severus, Lucius, Harry, Remus, Bill, Charlie, Fred and George sign off on their allotments. The will has been accepted and acted upon. If you are wishing to accept these gifts, do sign the papers presented now or you will forfeit and it will go back to Lady Black. The rest rush over to the goblin complaining all the time that there must be mistakes and that they should get more, but taking the little tokens left to them by Sirius Black anyhow. And 1 lyrics from Yesterday by John Lennon and Paul McCartney. And 2, I don't do metric well at all, so please do the conversions from pounds and feet to kilograms and meters yourself if you find it necessary. And 3, Ninian wasn't historically one of Morgana's names, but I made it so for this story. Please don't flame me, I do know my history. And 4, assuming that Harry was born July 31st, 1981, Sirius was killed just before school ended in Harry's 5th year, making him 15. So 1981. 1996. If I am off about Harry's birthday, then I apologize. I don't have my copies of the books handy, and I do not remember the exact date of Sirius' death if it was given. Just early June before school was out. Return of the Black Rose. Chapter 12 Interlude. Finishing up Gringotts. Dumbledore signed the papers the goblin handed him, then looked over to the fuming Weasley matriarch. Don't worry, Molly. He'll be back under our control within the week. You and Ginevra don't need to worry, you'll still be the Ladies Potter. Molly Weasley gives Dumbledore the extremely scary patented Weasley glare as she states, You better be right, Albus, because my Ginny has counted on that marriage contract. She's been planning her future on it. I won't have you disappointing her. Arthur, looking between the two of them, demands, What in the world are you two talking about? There is no marriage contract between Harry and Ginny. What did Sirius mean when he said you were feeding Harry potions? What exactly have the two of you been planning? Dumbledore replies quietly after realizing that the goblin was able to hear their conversation. Not now, Arthur, not here. We'll finish this discussion later in private? With a look that isn't seen very often from the Weasley patriarch that is more than scary. Now, Albus. Enough with these secrets. Dumbledore angrily pulls Arthur and Molly to the far side of the conference room and whispers feverishly, Molly and I arranged a marriage contract between Harry and Ginevra. In exchange for your virgin daughter, Harry pays all of her school expenses and 250 galleons a month, something like $12.50 to you for any household expenses she incurs. Arthur starts turning red and then explodes. How dare you? Molly Evangeline Pruitt Weasley, you are not the head of this family, and any contracts you have made are hereby invalidated. As Molly starts to wind up into a rant, he states in a voice of steel that scares everyone listening, Molly, I've tolerated your ambitious ways for over 25 years. You've pushed and prodded, pushed and railed at 4 of our children so much that they never come home. Bill would rather live in a small apartment inside Gringotts than at the Burrow. Charlie would rather live in a hut in Romania than even come home for holiday, and you've badgered the twins, who actually are quite successful, till they'd rather live over their shop instead of at home. Percy would rather work for that slug Fudge than come home to us because he saw— Oh yes, Molly, he saw what you were doing and was disgusted by it. I won't have it any more. Money isn't anything, integrity and honor are more important than money and position. Your manipulations and ridiculous ambitions have turned our 2 youngest into money-grubbing useless lumps. Ron couldn't get a job if he was handed it on a platter, and Ginny may be good with spells, but she has no integrity and no honor and absolutely no self-respect. Disgust written on his face and disappointment in his posture, he demands, Molly, go home, you've brought enough dishonor to my family. Albus Dumbledore, you are no longer welcome in my home, and you are not to have any contact with any of my children from this point on. If I find you've gone against my wishes, I will take action before the Council of Elders. I am head of the Weasley line, and in this I will be obeyed. Dumbledore smirked vindicatively. What about your vow to the Order? Arthur coldly replies, Honor first, last, and always, Dumbledore. The Weasley family took that and added it to the family motto over 500 years ago, and it's passed down from father to son the reasons we live those words. They aren't just words, they are deeply ingrained into who we are, how we live. You've sullied our honor and trashed our integrity for the last time. He continues before Dumbledore can say anything. Remember the words of the vow you made us all swear. You broke them first, thereby invalidating the vow for all of us. If you are the head, my family will have no part of it. Good day. He nods to the goblin and states calmly, Mr. Stonegrinder, please inform Mr. Potter of what has occurred here today. Tell him I will contact him in 2 days to arrange reparations. May your clan always have gold and weapons, stay ever sharp. Arthur sweeps out of the room, head held high and shoulders back. Dumbledore shakes his head at the lack of respect that this younger generation shows for their superiors, then states superiorly to the now free goblin, the papers. He signs and receives receipts and is told that his new elf creature is waiting for him in the lobby. Grimmauld Place. Dumbledore apparat to 12, Grimmauld Place, and froze in shock. Arrayed on the grass verge in front of the house was mound upon mound of boxes, with more being placed there by goblins as he watched. Back straight and twinkle gone from his eyes, aura flaring. He strides forcefully to the men standing by the boxes and demands, "What is going on here?" One of the men standing by demands in return, "Who are you, sir?" Shocked that this boy, as he couldn't be more than 25 or 30, didn't recognize him, immediately Dumbledore grinds out, "Albus Dumbledore, Chief Warlock of the Wizengamot, Supreme Mugwump, and Headmaster of Hogwarts." The man smiles, although it's clear it doesn't reach his eyes, and vindicatively states in an officious manner, "Good that you appeared before the goblins finished, sir. That means I won't have to fine you for leaving wizarding items on the roadside for muggles to find. It's my understanding, and the papers from the goblin support it, is that the landlord of this property has evicted you. The goblins, as required by Charter Section 10 subsection 99 paragraph 43, alerted us at the Auror division of the eviction, as they are only empowered to remove your possessions from inside the home to the public curb. In a wizarding area this wouldn't be a problem, as they could sit unattended until you collected them or trash picked them up. But here in London that just isn't possible, to many wizarding items making it to the market now. We've charmed the verge to repel muggles till just after sundown. Any of your property left at that time will result in a fine and a hearing before the Wizengamot for violation of Order 9 subsection 5 of the Secrecy Act. Thinking he could save face, Dumbledore puts on his best "I am the wise and kind grandfather" act while saying his kindest, most gentle voice, "Ah yes, thank you, young man. The letter informing me of the removal must have been delayed, as I was unaware of it happening at this time. I am actually here for a meeting." Rotbrotbrotber. Chapter 13, Moving and Accounting. Another connecting interlude, finishing up at Gringotts. After signing the papers, Lucius turns and looks at Narcissa. "Will you be following his last request?" Narcissa negatively shakes her head. "I've caused enough damage to your family and my own Lucius to last a lifetime. It's time for me to take my leave. You would find that I've done some things prompted or controlled by another, and done other things for my own selfish reasons. I am not now, and have never been, what could be called a good person. I will remove myself and my things from Malfoy Manor by the end of today, will not contest a divorce." Lucius gave her a cold smirk as he responds, "No, I would guess not, as you have on more than 5 occasions broken our marriage contract. This way is much easier, and as I've the appropriate witnesses, I think it's best." Lucius turns and takes Narcissa's hand, removing the family engagement ring, and handing her back the ornate wedding band that had been her personal choice. He states clearly for all present to hear, "I, Lucius Malfoy, being sound mind, do herewith revoke all bonds to or with Narcissa Victoria Black. She has no claims on any money or property besides that which she brought into our union, as stated in paragraph 97 section 3 of the contract. Any and all issue that may have resulted from this union do herewith remain in the custody of and property of the head of the Malfoy line, as stated in paragraph 5 of section 4 of the same contract." She draws herself up haughtily. "Very well, Mr. Malfoy, if that is how you wish to do things. We are done. Please have your elves deliver my things to the Mindutton Inn in Bavaria, where I am staying." She turns to Stonegrinder. "Where do I sign?" Stonegrinder asks her, "Do you intend to take the potion provided by Mr. Sirius Black?" "No, I am not going to take an unidentified potion provided by someone that very likely hated my guts. You, Narcissa Black, do realize that this will mean that you leave here nameless and without family?" She shudders for a moment, then nods in understanding. Yes, I know what this choice means. I do hope that the head of the Black family will allow me to keep what was mine from the marriage contract. But either way, I stand with this decision. I've selfishly caused enough damage to Sirius' daughter and to Harry Potter that I do not deserve any consideration, and I understand the consequences of my choice. Stonegrinder slides a parchment forward while indicating the waiting Quill. Sign here, please. And watches as she signs the forms with her now official name, Narcisa Victoria B.M. Nechnoir. She then turns to Diana Black, a questioning look on her face. Diana sighs deeply before answering her silent question. Miss Nectnoir, while it not my intention to leave you destitute with removal from the annals of the noble and ancient house of Black, I cannot leave you with any property or crested items or anything that contains a coat of arms. Therefore your contract from your marriage to Lucius Malfoy is void. You receive nothing from it. This leaves me at an impasse, as you are my father's estranged ex-wife. It was you who broke the bonding contract with him. You decided to not take my papa's gift of a possible second chance, yet you still remain my godmother. This is what I shall do. Stonegrinder, please see that Miss Nectnoir is set up with a vault containing 100,000 galleons. She is to receive the deed to the Lancastershire 2 apartment. Ma'am, you may also keep any person jewelry or any gifted to you by your parents, so long as it does not have the black crest or coat of arms anywhere on it. Thank you, ma'am. Miss Nectnoir, I find myself unwilling to let things just go as they currently stand, so I offer this one-time second chance. If sometime during the next year you find you have a change of heart and wish to come back into my life, you are supposed to be my godmother after all. Make it known to me. I will keep this potion that my father has for you. I know that you were not completely under your own control for all the things that you've done, and that other times you were. This I will not hold against you if you are completely honest with us when if you do come back. You are not able to be brought back to the Black family, but I find that I have other at my disposal, so being without family is entirely your choice. I will not even consider it after 1 year has passed, no matter what reasons or excuses you try. They all watch Narcissa leave, shoulders squared and head held high. Lucius looks down at Diana, who is watching Narcissa leave, face totally blank. Will you be all right, my dear? You could see Lucius was concerned but unwilling to make a big production about it with those present. I am fine, father. It was nice to learn that I still have family alive. Having a godmother would have been nice, a novelty, since I wouldn't have known how to treat her anyhow. I have you, grandfather, Draco and Harry to be my family. I am quite fine. With a tremulous smile up at him, she adds, I went from having no one and being under the control of a monster to being completely surrounded by a caring family. Feels strange at times, but so good. Lucius smiles, something that he rarely does in public, at his daughter's happiness. Let us go home then, and make sure everything is prepared for Harry and Lupin's arrival. ROTBR 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 Rotber. Harry called his house elf to him in preparation for moving into Slwitch Tor. Ringo. Ringo pops in, barely making a sound. Master called? Ringo, please make sure that all Remus and my things are packed, as we will be going to stay at Slwitch Tor tomorrow. Did Ringo do something wrong, Master, that you want to leave him? Ringo asked, wringing his hands. No, Ringo, you've been great. I wanted to ask you if this apartment was enough work for you when no one is staying here. Seeing that the little elf was scared that he was about to be fired, Harry adds quickly, because I'd like to ask you if you'd like to become my personal elf. I may be moving around a lot until school starts again, and will need the help of a good elf to stay organized. I also want you to be my elf at school, because I have on good authority that people have been trying to put potions into my food and drink. I am sure that they won't stop just because they currently can't reach me. If I have you, I can be sure that my food isn't tainted. Ringo would be happy to be Master Harry Potter's personal elf. You have many elves, sir. Others can take over the apartment. Ringo will keep you safe from meddlers and plotters. Ringo will keep your secrets and help to keep you organized. I kept Mr. James' secrets, and he told me to keep you safe and help you when the time came. That time is now. Rotber, 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 rotber. Where should Leafy put Master Harry's things? The small house elf asked. Tom Riddle Slytherin replied, Put him in the blue suite across from my granddaughter and be sure that he has everything he needs. Put his mentor in the suite across from Severus. Rotber. Dumbledore's anger, after making sure all of his property from Order headquarters was collected by the elves Dumbledore operat to Hogwarts. He stalked up to his office where he sat for a moment eating a few lemon drops before reading the mail waiting on his desk. Mr. Dumbledore, you owe the Black Estate 27,000 galleons and 5 sickles for the rental of 9 tomes on wards and 2 magical tracking devices. They were collected from you once without charges being applied. But not a second time. To save you time and energy, funds were transferred to bring your account out of debt. Hammerhand Gringotts Collections. Dumbledore upon reading this started screaming, yelling profanities that most of the former headmasters weren't even aware he knew, and then throwing whatever he could get his hands on. Then he finally starts to think. His eyes hard with a look on his face that would scare anyone who might see it. He purses his lips and muses aloud, I must get that brat back under my thumb. He can't be allowed to thwart me. Rotber. Harry and Remus, using a portkey provided by Voldemort, arrived in a marble-floored hall. They are led down a long, opulent hallway that's lined with thick green carpet so dark that it's almost black, portraits of different men hanging from the walls. All the portraits have the name Slytherin and most have the same features. One catches Harry's attention though. The man had messy long black hair and verdant green eyes. It was eerie as it was almost like looking into a mirror. The man's name, Harris Evaniston Slytherin. Finally they approached their destination. 2 huge doors, obsidian bound in silver and carved with the Slytherin coat of arms. After the elf announced their presence, Harry and Remus enter with a quiet smile to their host, who was having a quiet conversation with Severus Snape and Lucius Malfoy. Tom Riddle, upon seeing them, asks, Mr. Potter, were you able to get all your business taken care of? Sitting down on a nearby chair, Harry replies, I was able to do most of the shopping for the things most people take for granted, as well as a few extras. I even managed to find myself a loyal house elf that will accompany me everywhere from now on. Do you think? Tom starts. Harry interrupts before he could say something or take offense. Tom, it's not you. I found out that he's been putting potions and other things into my food, paying those 2 so-called friends to spy on me and help him in this endeavor. He's even set up false marriage contracts and attempted drugging me with lust and other illegal love potions while playing at being my guardian. There is just no telling what else he may try now that he's losing control. Sirius was my buffer. Dumbledore may have prevented him from being able to do his duty properly, but he wasn't able to stop him loving me and therefore protecting me to the best of his ability. Siri gave me a potion that permanently blocked all forms of love and lust potions. He worked with me and helped me to be able to throw off all levels of Imperius and memory spells. They just won't work on me anymore at all. Tom frowns. I had no idea he's done such things. He hides his evil pretty well. I'm guessing it's all the practice he's had since Grindelwald's death. Remus sits down beside Severus and asks, What do you mean, cub? Moony, I don't think. Severus asks in his deep velvety voice, Please, Mr. Potter, enlighten us. Harry looks at him sharply for a moment, then starts with his face entirely blank. You won't like it, and you should know up front that I've put 4 years into this research. I've bought so many books on politics, family history, and Grindelwald and the previous war that Flourish and Blots is convinced that I'm getting mastery in history. Getting comfortable and starting in an informative yet almost lecturing voice, Dumbledore started his rise to power from the very halls of Hogwarts. Wasn't anyone ever suspicious why a Transfiguration professor, whose only other professional training was in alchemy, felt the need to battle the worst Dark Lord to ever walk the earth? Yes, he was powerful, but he wasn't a battle-hardened soldier, or trained Auror. He actually hadn't had any additional training other than that offered by Hogwarts. I know I've searched all public records. I don't think Grindelwald searched him out. I think Dumbledore saw their confrontations as a way to his dream and used it to his advantage. He started his rise in popularity by continually confronting the big bad evil man, by telling the world to sit back and let him protect them. By defeating Grindelwald, he became the apple of the wizarding world and could do no wrong. He'd save them when no one could. No one else did or could because he wouldn't let them. When any other warriors came forward, he'd knock them down or discredit them. He was practically worshipped for his deeds, and if Dumbledore wanted it, he got it. And it didn't matter if he deserved it or not. After he defeated Grindelwald in 45, when they didn't immediately give in to his requests, he took steps to get what he wanted. He became headmaster in 1955. Do you realize that there was no investigation into the death of Headmaster Dippet? Dumbledore said it was his heart, and that's what his death certificate says. Dumbledore isn't and has never been a healer or mortician. So why is it his signature on that death certificate? He wanted a seat on the Wisengamot, so they found a way to him in one. He was allowed to represent his family, and then they gave him the position of Chief Warlock. He may act as the head of the Dumbledore family, but he is not the head. Aberforth is the head. But Albus had him discredited for using questionable spells on goats. Worried about his family's image, Aberforth lets Dumbles control the house in his stead. He still wasn't happy with the power and influence he had on the world, and pushed to become head of the International Confederation of Wizards. Supreme Mugwump looks good on paper, but does it actually give him more power? It does, because it gives him international prestige. Now, with all these political responsibilities, can he really be an effective headmaster? I mean, being headmaster is a 10 months of the year job. I'd think that the position of Chief Warlock would be rather time-consuming, as well as the responsibility of head of house at Dumbledore. He's also turned down the position of Minister of Magic and let his toady Fudge assume the position. We all know that Fudge practically keeps his flue open to Dumbles. Why didn't Dumbledore take the minister's job when it was offered? He would have had to give up Hogwarts and the prestige it carries, so he's done the next best thing. He's got the minister's ear and gets what he wants rammed through the system without any of the backlash if the people don't like it. Lucius, looking thoughtful, asks, "An example, if you please, Mr. Potter." Werewolf Control Act 13A. No werewolf is allowed to marry, cohabitat, or breed with any non-werewolf, and all issue that survive a birth are to be destroyed. Or how about Goblin Law 94 that states that all goblins must be employed by either Gringotts or the Broom Factory, and can have no other jobs. Most never leave their caves because of these restrictions. Harry then looks directly at Tom. I think that Dumbledore got this image of what he considered to be the perfect world, and he's ramming it down everyone's throats and removing anyone that becomes an obstacle. You, Tom, were the first true obstacle he encountered after Grindelwald, so you became his new bad guy. The new Dark Lord. Snape smoothly counters with, if he plans to make Tom his scapegoat, where do you fit into the scheme of things? Harry snorts inelegantly. I am a tool and an obstacle. If he can use me against his enemy, then I am useful, but if I refuse to allow myself to be used and manipulated, then I too am his enemy and must be removed. A soft, silky female voice asks, what is my part in his new world? Do you know? Harry stands as his sister enters the room and smiles at her. She glides over to a chair near him and waits patiently. Harry frowns a minute, thinking about her question, then, I think you are a tool as well. If nothing else, he was going to use you to improve his own power. Then he'd have married you to one of his most loyal pawns who'd get control of your fortunes and proxy to your positions. You would make him more powerful. He pretty much planned the same for me, except he didn't count on Sirius blocking those lust potions. He hadn't moved to that point with you, I think, because, well, he planned on giving you to his nephew, who would have taken you without benefit of any controls till you were pregnant and forced to marry him by wizarding law. Looking contemplative and thinking further, that move would have given him the Black Fortune, the Hunter Fortune, and the Asterii Fortune. Not including the inheritances from the Potter and Malfoy lines. That's a lot of power and money. So, brother mine, exactly how will we be stopping this madman? Rotber, 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 Rotber. Hestia Jones, cause of death determined by Sue Branch. Healers have determined that Ms. Hestia Jones of Water Street, London, died of mostly natural causes. Spells have revealed that she died from a massive electrical discharge that caused her heart to cease beating. Our condolences to Ms. Jones' family. The funeral is being held Wednesday at 4 p.m. at Aberstone Downs. Rotber, 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 Rotber. The Dumbledore's plan. In a secret, secluded family manor near the shore, Dumbledore and a select group of people were deeply engrossed in a meeting. A group that includes not only Hermione Granger and her mother Janice D. Granger, but her grandmother Phoebe Jane Dumbledore, her great-uncle Brian Gaylord Kennedy, as well as a few others. Hermione sits down at the long conference table as she inquires, Grandpa Albus, do I have to keep pretending to be Muggleborn? I am so tired of not being allowed to show my true heritage. With a deceptive twinkle in his eye and a placating smile, Dumbledore replies, Now Hermione dear, you know your part in this is very important. You must keep being Hermione Granger, Muggle-born student girlfriend to Ronald Weasley, son of the Muggle-loving fools Arthur and Molly Weasley. With a complete change in demeanor and expression, the happy grandfatherly "you can trust me" twinkle turns cold and ugly as he continues. That bastard cancelled the bonding contract Molly and I devised for Ginevra and Potter, but he can't do anything for the one we've arranged between you and Ronald. Hermione cautiously asks, Grandpa Albus, it's not that I dislike who you've chosen for me or want to cause problems, but what is my marrying Ronald going to give us? He isn't the eldest of them, so he won't get much of an inheritance. Not that they have anything valuable anyway. He isn't that strong magically. Both Bill and Charlie are much stronger and have very high-rated skills in their chosen fields. The twins are ambitious and have the drive to succeed. Ron, he's lazy about everything. Yeah, he's kind of good-looking, but that's really all he has going for him. They are an old family child. It's a good marriage both for blood and magic, as we Dumbledores have never married into that line. Ronald may not be the strongest of them, true, but he is the easiest of them to control with his greed and envy. But hopefully the Pruitt gift will breed true, and you will be gifted with many children who can have many children. With all the other pureblood families barely able to have one child, and us with many, we will easily get control of the entirety of the Wizarding World's bounty, one family at a time. It won't take long, maybe a couple of generations, and we'll be the largest family with the most connections and highest prestige in all the Wizarding World. Then I'll make my demands and call in all the life debts owed me. I'll be crowned king of the Wizarding World, and there won't be anything that they can do to stop me. Albus replies with an ambition glint in his twinkling eyes and a very Slytherin sneer on his face. What are you going to do without the Potter fortune, Papa Albus? A lack of funds right now will make things very difficult for us to operate unobtrusively, asked Janice Dumbledore Granger, Hermione's mother. We may have to use a disposable agent and transfer some funds from the old vault. We just have to make sure it can't be traced back to us. Brian Kennedy interjects with deep concern. The old vault still exists. I thought it had been emptied right after the war. Uncle Albus, it's not safe for you to get anything from that vault. Not while everyone is looking so closely at everything you do. The last thing you need is for someone to connect your sudden bounty with the missing Grindelwald monies. Then we must make so with what we have. Use your magic while here in this protected environment. Fix up your clothing and other possessions so they look new and expensive. Hermione, for books this term, go into the library here and get a set plus some for extra reading like you usually do. Make sure you make them look new. You've had good quality books every year since you started, so you must keep up that image. Same with your uniforms and Muggle clothing. We've enough money in the family vaults currently to get by on if we don't make any unneeded purchases. We can do this. It's not like magic can't provide everything we need to keep up the image everyone expects. Chapter 16. The Ever-Changing World. Tom watched Harry from the door. Harry was looking over some very old unique maps that he'd acquired from the True Elves. These maps were special in that they showed the magic lines, what some called ley lines and power wells. It was interesting to him that Hogwarts was built not only on top of a power well but at the conjunction point of several ley lines. Harry, feeling like he was being watched, looked up and seeing Tom smiled. Hey Tom, just the man I was hoping to see today. I've a couple of questions for you if you have the time. What's on your mind, Harry? Tom says while taking a seat at the table. Well, I started noticing a change in the magic around Hogwarts at the end of term last semester, and I think I've discovered part of why. Harry states slowly, almost unwilling to share this knowledge. What's changing the magic, Harry? Spreading several maps across the table, not the ones from the elves, Harry starts explaining. I found these maps in your archives, and out of curiosity I started looking them over. What I found startled me. In Muggle books about magic and some of their more esoteric religions, I found a lot of references to ley lines or ley magic. They've too mapped these ley lines, and pretty accurately too, I might add, but what they haven't discovered is why they've been changing in power and moving their locations. He waited a minute to see if Tom was going to sputter about Muggles, then continued when he didn't. The founders knew about them and studied them thoroughly, and through this knowledge they knew to build their school on top of a well would eventually lead to it being nearly sentiment. In my research, magic, Muggle, and other race, everything states that they should be static or unmoving. I found it interesting that to start thousands of years ago, magic was evenly spread over the entire world, except for at well sites where it was concentrated up to approximately 10 to 50 times more. Even the power moving in them should be steady, kind of like electricity running through power lines, but you can see from these maps and the graphs that over the last 125 years a lot of the lines have had power fluctuations, some even entirely emptying while others have overcharged. Harry picks up another map and points to so faint lines. Now look at this map from the elves. See these wavering lines? When Tom nods, these lines show that the ley lines have definitely moved, leaving zones where there is basically no magic at all and other areas where it's almost like new wells are being planned out and created to house and divert the power. Tom, looking very worried, asks, "Diverted it to where?" Harry states simply and unemotionally, "Hogwarts." Sighing deeply, Tom asks seriously, "How different was Hogwarts feeling? What's your supposition about the changes in the ley lines and power wells?" Harry sits back down and pulls his thoughts together so that he can give a coherent answer to Tom without sounding insane. "Hogwarts spoke to me telepathically. Tom, I only have guesses about what I think is happening. I've tried to find a valid fact to base them on. What I have is centuries-old data and a lot of speculation followed by gut instinct." When Tom nods in understanding, Harry continues, "Firstly, the influx of power will charge and magnify the budding sentience of Hogwarts herself and its inhabitants, like the portraits, ghosts, specters, and even the house elves. I think this is one of the reasons that the house elf that I freed from the Malfoys at the end of second year, Dobby, hasn't declined. He's been freed from servitude and bond from any family for over 4 years, but he hasn't declined at all in magic, although I am not too sure about him mentally. I think that even the creatures in the forest and possibly the lake are being affected by this as well. This trend is likely to increase their natural magic and possibly their intelligence. It may even give magic where there wasn't any before." Severus and Remus, who had been listening to the conversation from the doorway, enter, joining those at the table. Severus asks, almost demands, "Who do you think is doing this?" Remus asks almost at the same time, "Who could be powerful enough to shift the very essence of magic?" Harry smirks almost in delight at that question. "You do know that Tom here has the most comprehensive magic library to be found, right?" "Well, I've done nothing but research since I've gotten here, and I've come to the conclusion that it would take an earth elemental mage to be precise to do something like this." Severus, looking totally blank, asks, "How do you come to these conclusions?" Harry stands up and walks to a shelf in the back corner of the room where all of Tom Riddle's oldest tomes were housed. He pulls down a very large one that was entirely handwritten, including the illustrations. He carries it over and sits down with it, cradling it almost reverently. Harry asks quietly, "Have you ever read Merlin's journals?" "No, I wasn't aware that we had access to them," Severus replied softly. "This journal covers about the last 25 years of his life. It was after Arthur, Avalon, the Grail, and all of that. He had set out to find out what was oversetting the magic in Careblade. He had received reports from other magic wielders, human and non-human, that there were mysterious storms in which wild magic just erupted and caused catastrophic damage to the countryside and even occasionally small villages. He describes magically charged areas that, when they can't handle any more magic coming in, and discharge it before it causes them to explode. He also mentions a Keep Castella blade. I believe from the descriptions in his journal that what he went to investigate is the same phenomena that we are dealing with here. His supposition for the storms was that when the area became overly supercharged, the area would discharge the magic. However, it could magic-charged storms and wild magic. They had blizzards during summer and rain that burned trees, even hail the size of bludgers. It explains the blizzards and magical outbursts that occurred during winter last term. There hasn't been as many as were reported to Merlin because the forest, the lake, the creatures in Hogwarts and her inhabitants are absorbing a lot of the ambient magic and evolving into something stronger and new. I think that if you look at the list of students that had uncontrollable magical outbursts, you will find that it was those that spent a lot of time outside of the castle on Hogwarts grounds and weren't as protected from the ambient magic. These students started absorbing it themselves. I haven't been able to study it long enough, though, to determine any lasting effects to the student body." Harry laughed quietly at Moony's intensity, but quieted as he looked and saw the same intense interest on all their faces. Merlin started looking into what he called mage line and power wells. He found that most of those that would have traversed the bordering counties had been diverted, creating a magic dead zone around the province of Careblade. Encircling it, actually. He stated in his journal that casting magic in the dead zones took 3 times more effort and produced only very weak spells, but upon entering the charged zone he had only to think and things would happen. He found that the court magician for this area was a wizard named Severus Moore, and describes him as have hair of fire with eyes the color of a clear blue sky. It took him months of exploration, discussion, investigation, and generally just pissing people off to figure out that Severus Moore was not just a wizard but was in fact an elemental sorcerer who had control of the element of the earth. He'd made a few friends, but most people of the keep wanted him to leave. His friends told him though that King Bladen used to actually listen to his people and help them through their troubles, but that since Severus Moore had arrived, he had not only lost interest in his people, he'd taken to brutalizing them for the least imagined slight or infraction of unspoken rules and laws, sometimes even to death. Merlin was at a loss at first. He was just going to out and out kill the sorcerer, but then he'd be left trying to put the magic back where it belonged to right the changes to the mother. He, not being as strong in earth magic as he was in other areas, didn't think he'd be able to do it. It took years, but he was finally able to discover exactly what the sorcerer was up to. This Severus Moore was obviously a Dark Lord, but what exactly were his plans? Well, Merlin discovered through a servant that Severus Moore often left his notes lying about. He found out that the Mean wanted to create this unnatural well of power so that he could do a ritual that would increase his magical core by 100% or more. Of course, he didn't take into consideration the damage that would likely occur to his body and mind, not to mention the surrounding countryside when he did it. He was moving and holding the ley lines with crystals about the size of dinner plates in a specific pattern around the city. Tom asked almost in a whisper, fascinated by the story that Harry had woven. What pattern, Harry? The most ancient of all patterns, Tom. The spiral. Harry looked over towards the door and seeing more people listening, he invites them in, noting that Sebastian, Diana and Lucius were looking just as fascinated as the three already in the room. Merlin did more investigating and decided that if he destroyed the holding crystals, then the ley lines would move back to their proper places and return the balance to nature's magic. What took him a while to decide on was exactly how to destroy those crystals, as he'd also concluded that it should happen all at once. The sorcerer wanted to become the most powerful magic-wielding being on the planet. I think we have the same situation here. Dumbledore has done everything in his considerable power to make himself indispensable and powerful. Not just magically but politically. Remus states started at the direction Harry's synopsis had taken. That's an awful big leap, cub. What makes you think it's him? Everything points to him, Moony, from his history in gaining position and power to the time frame. He would have been in his prime to start the transition. He trained with an alchemist for many years, learning his secrets, or at least some of them, enabling him to find or create the perfect crystals to set this in motion. He moved himself to where he wanted his well of power. There was already one there, enabling him to step up his plan a bit because Hogwarts and her surrounds were able to absorb and use a lot of the extra ambient magic, keeping the increase in magic in the area from being too noticeable. He's continued his bid for power with Grindelwald, then the first rise of Voldemort, which we all know he pretty much orchestrated. I think we need to send in a team to check out Hogsmeade and the Forbidden Forest for the crystals. If he's placed them properly, they will be almost unnoticeable unless you know exactly what to look for and how to do it. Harry, looking at Tom, states seriously, "Do you have anyone that's an expert in Merlin's history? I know I read it thoroughly, but it never hurts to have a second or third pair of eyes to see if you've translated correctly. Sebastian here is something of a Merlin expert. I think the two of you should spend some time going over the journals and your translations. Bring me a report in, say, 3 days. In the meantime, I believe that Severus and Lucius will be doing some shopping in Hogsmeade and will likely need to spend several nights at Hogwarts. Lucius, you will also help Severus in setting up his classroom for the return of students, so he will not need to worry at the end of the month. While there, you will follow Harry's instructions and look for any sign of those crystals." Both answer simultaneously, "Yes, milord." Tom ponders a few moments. "I think you should take Diana with you. She needs to be familiar with the area and it will expose her a bit to more people. She's also expressed a wish to do some shopping." Lucius smiles at his daughter. "Why didn't you say so?" "Of course it will be all right. We can bring Draco too. Make it a family outing." Careblade, loosely translated, means Fort of Wolf Castella Blade. Loosely translated is Castle Wolf. Severus Moore means bumblebee in Gaelic translation, taken from http://www.nh.org. UK publications, reviews, naturally Scottish. Bumblebees. SP. Chapter 17, Books, Translations and the Future. Harry, after handing his notes over to Sebastian, sat down with another very large tome that would have had Hermione drooling had she seen it and started taking extensive notes. Sebastian went over Harry's notes and translations looking for any discrepancies and found none. On the third day, when they were supposed to give their report to the Dark Lord, Sebastian finally decides to ask Harry some personal questions. Impressed, Sebastian states, "You've done an excellent job on these translations, Harry. Have you ever thought of doing this type of work when the war is over?" Harry grimaced as he answers, "I've never given much thought to an actual career once the war is over till recently. And while translations and research do play a part in what I've thought about, it's nothing like this. Mostly because of the way Dumbledore has been treating the war and me, I was thinking it was likely I wouldn't survive. Well, since you've seen through Dumbledore's mask and came to Tom, who will train you, how about you start thinking of having a future? I'd heard rumors that you wanted to be an Auror. Was that something you wanted?" Harry, with a frown, "When they did career counseling in 5th year, the only job I really heard anything about was Auror. They told me that both my dad and Sirius were Aurors, that they were dark wizard catchers, and that I'd be a natural, so even though I was leaning away from fighting my entire life, I let everyone think that it was what I wanted to do. It just made things easier." Tom asks from the doorway, "Exactly what are you interested in doing?" "I've actually thought a lot about going into the healer field. I'd like to see about combining potions, transfigurations, charms, and actual healing magic. I was thinking about some of the incurable Muggle illnesses that, although rare, wizards do sometimes catch them. What if you transfigure sick cells into perfect healthy cells, ones that actually do what they are supposed to? Could it be the end of diseases like AIDS, leukemia, or cancer? Or new potions or other treatments that help to ease those suffering from them?" Realizing he'd rambled somewhat, Harry looks back to his notes in embarrassment as he goes silent. Sebastian grins as Tom takes a seat. "I see you do have an idea of what you want. And I know exactly who you need to talk to so that your vision can be realized. Lucius is a charms master, Severus is a potions master, and my brother is a master of arithmancy, which, while you didn't mention, it will be necessary for developing new spells and treatments, and Adriana Zabini, who is a transfiguration master. Tom here is a master in almost everything you'll need. Would you consider an apprenticeship? Although it would be longer than normal apprenticeship with everything you'd need to study." Harry states objectively, "Draco wants to be Snape's apprentice. He's the only master I know of, so no, I hadn't considered an apprenticeship at all. Not even in my wildest imaginings. With Dumbledore in charge of my life, I didn't have a future to look forward to, so I wasn't able to do more than dream a little. Harry, I know what you are capable of now when you put your mind towards something. The only reason I've never taken an apprentice other than Sebastian here is because for the most part people want everything handed to them. They don't want to earn their laurels. If you were to become my apprentice, and I do want you to consider this a very valid offer, expect to earn your certificates." Rotber. Severus Snape, age 38, youngest potions master in 300 years, was trying to figure a way to tell his oldest friend that newly found barely legal daughter was his mate. He finally decided alcohol and straightforward telling was the best way to go. He finally located him, apparently waiting for him in the sitting room closest to the flu chamber. He starts tentatively, "Luke, has Desari, Miss Hunteru, Miss Black mentioned anything about finding her mates?" Lucius replies calmly, "She's not said much yet. I think she may know who one of them is, but she hasn't said anything to me about it yet." "Why, Severus? Has she mentioned something to you? Or have you observed something?" "She has not spoken to me about it yet, but I believe. No, I know that she is, that I am her mate, one of them anyhow," Severus states badly. Lucius demands impassively, "What has brought you to this conclusion?" Severus starts explaining how he came to the conclusion, hoping fervently that his friend wouldn't try to kill him when he was finished. "At first I thought nothing of it when she sought out my company each evening. It's often common for patients to form an attachment to the healer that saves them from a near-death experience. I at first thought that was what was happening, but that type of attachment doesn't last or survive a non-encouraged relationship. She finds me every evening to just be in my presence. I am often doing research. She either assists or sits quietly reading or doing research of her own. I found myself quite drawn to her, and I look forward to her presence every evening. I find that I look for her and don't relax until she's arrived." Looking Lucius in the eyes, he adds earnestly, forsaking all Slytherin instincts, As you know, I usually prefer solitude and found this unusual in itself. I stopped taking the suppressor to see if she could be the one. Cleared my system in 3 days and I knew immediately. Luke, I am finding the emotions and especially the territorial feelings difficult to control. I nearly attacked Avery yesterday because he laid a hand on her shoulder when he was explaining something to her. Rotber, 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 Rotber. Draco dressed in his best charcoal gray trousers, crisp white silk shirt, and charcoal gray robe trimmed in cerulean blue Celtic, not work the sapphires in his cufflinks matching, perfectly waited impatiently at the Hogsmeade train station for his first meeting with his contracted bride Jadzia Stromwing. His parents had arranged the marriage contract when he was 3 years old and her 4.5. To date they'd never met, and he was very nervous since letters, even though sent bi-weekly, just didn't tell you a lot about a person. Desari watched impassively as Draco and Lucius prepared to go meet the train in Hogsmeade. When she finally turns towards Severus Snape, who was sitting by the fire, to find that he was oddly enough appeared to be watching her. She asks him in a somewhat petulant voice, "Don't you have to go as well? She is after all one of your apprentices." He ignores her tone, thinking he might know where it was coming from, and explains, "It does not require all of us. She is an adult and should be able to locate and make her was to a school the size of Hogwarts from Hogsmeade. She is my apprentice, yes, but does not make me her keeper. I've a set of rules and guidelines written into our master-apprentice contract that takes care of behavior and expectations. Other than required assignments, which does include teaching and assisting certain classes and her own research and potions assignments, her time is her own. The situation would of course be a bit different if she was a minor, as I would be her guardian and responsible for all of her actions." "What about Draco then? He is still a minor after all," he adds in a calm, reassuring tone. "I don't envision many changes from previous years with Draco. As head of Slytherin House, I've essentially been his guardian every year he's been at Hogwarts. The only change is that now I will be able to overrule Lucius in all matters, but as we usually agree on most decisions, there won't be any marked changes. I will be happy this term that he and Mr. Potter aren't constantly at each other's throats." Finally appearing to give up the sulks, she walks over and takes a chair near Severus. She asks, "Will they be allowed to bond while still being apprentices? I've made allowances in our contracts allowing for them to bond so long as they keep up with their contractual requirements. If their bond poses a problem, I will require them to live in separate rooms and only have monthly conjugal visits." With a devilish smirk he adds, "I believe that clause alone will keep them in line." He was glad she was finally talking about bonding issues, but really wished she'd get to the real topic she wanted to discuss instead of meandering around it. Isn't it expected that the master has the right to those liberties from their apprentice or apprentices? I've seen in other master-apprentice relationship where the apprentice becomes possessive and expecting after the master starts delving into that aspect of the bond. So when I arrange my apprenticeship, I should remember these things and negotiate out the aspects that I am uncomfortable with?" She asks quietly. Heart pounding in discomfort, Severus asks, "Who are you looking to apprentice with?" Grimacing as she replies, "It looks as if Harry and I both are most likely going to apprentice with grandfather and or Sebastian. Although, and you are the only one I've mentioned this to, I am hesitant to sign a contract with Sebastian since I think it's possible he's one of my mates. Many masters and apprentices have bonded over the years. Why does the possibility of this happening concern you so? It is after all a perfect opportunity to get to know him with expectations already clearly laid out." Looking discomfited and a bit sad, she states quietly, "I don't always want to be a child or lesser in the relationship. It will be hard enough being 20 years his junior. To always be lesser because he was master to my apprentice would be a block that is near impossible to overcome. So you fear that he will never be able to see past the already established relationship and will always treat you as his student even in your martial life. Basically, it would be difficult to overcome 5 years of already recognized behavior, especially if we start building the relationship while still student and master. Can you see yourself as one night master, the next night husband, and put aside the previous already comfortable established relationship?" Special note: reread the previous chapter as I found errors were made in uploading and most of it was missing. Fixed now. New classes and professors and contracts abound. Harry wanders around Shoreditch Tor till he finds Tom Riddle's study, then nervously, he knocks on the door, entering only after he is bid to do so. Tom looks up from the stack of papers he was reading, sees Harry, and smiles while asking, "Harry, what can I do for you today?" With a bit of excited nervousness in his voice, Harry states, Tom, I've been thinking about what we discussed the other afternoon, and I'd really like to be your apprentice. There are so many things that I want to study, and I know one master, unless they've studied and mastered many things, just won't be able to cover it all. You and Sebastian, to some extent, have done this. Smiling, Tom answers, well, that's good news, Harry, and with the news I received this morning, everything will work out perfectly. Really, what have you heard? Seems the adverts that Dumbledore put out elicited many bites, some of which were from my faithful. 2 of them are your new professors. Sebastian tells me that he was notified by Owl just this morning that he's been accepted as the new history professor. And Lucius is going to be your new defense professor, along with the eldest Weasley boy, who it seems is also teaching an evening-based elective in wards. The other Weasley boy, the one that works with dragons, is taking a break from them and is going to be your creatures professor. But how can Sebastian teach? He's one of the 10 most wanted. That's the best part of it. We've created artifacts that have untraceable glamour magic embedded in them. Once you put the item on and activate it, you will look like someone else in every sense of the word. These devices can only be deactivated by the one that turned it on, and it can't be detected by medical scans or other scanning magic. For instance, Mad Eye Moody will not see Sebastian but his disguise when he looks at him. He can act in my stead as one of my former apprentices when I can't be there for you until we get to meet. I will expect to meet with you on Hogsmeade weekends, but I may also use one of the devices and visit you for lessons on other weekends if I determine that you need me. Harry, I want you to remember that I take my responsibility as master very seriously. If I find that someone is harming you, I will stop them. If I determine you need me for any reason, I will be there or get someone I trust to you. If I find that Dumbledore is dangerous to you, I will remove you from Hogwarts and will stop him without you being within his sphere of influence. I may yell at you, I may be harsh in punishments, but I don't punish arbitrarily, and I will never cause you physical harm. I do not abuse those under my care, and I have never and will never abuse a child. You, like Sebastian before, you will be treated more like my son than a stranger under my care. It will be nice having Sebastian there. I kinda wish Moony could be there too. He's such a good professor that it's a shame that the Ministry and the Board of Governors won't let him in. It's not the governors that are being the problem in this instance, it's Dumbledore. He claims that it's the governors, but in actuality it's himself. He doesn't want Lupin in the school because Lupin has managed to slip his control. But I've a plan there too. I've decided that 4 masters will act in my stead when I can't be there for you. They will instruct you and accept your work, sending it and their reports on your progress on to me. These agents will be Sebastian, Severus, Lucius, and Lupin. This will all be written into your contract, so it cannot be contested by Dumbledore or the Ministry. Severus will of course cover your potions. He can also help with your defense, but I will have him and Lucius also work on your dark arts. Lupin and Lucius can share defense and charms, which will include wards and proper dueling, as well as creating magic artifacts like the Disguiser. Sebastian will cover transfiguration and the basics of healing. Once you need more than the basics of healing, we'll have to find you another agent to assist while at the school. Tom continues with a bit of a smile. Now I know you are worried about learning dark arts, but you needn't. The dark arts themselves aren't bad, it's the black arts which should have never been created or used that must be avoided by you at all costs, as it will ruin any chance you have at healing magic. Dark magic is just another aspect of magic. Some is light, most is neutral, and some is dark, and the dark arts are spells that specifically use this dark magic. Most spells actually taught at the schools are of neutral magic. Light magic can be and often is one of the most destructive forces on the earth. I saw Dumbledore use it on Grindelwald. He suffered pain that Cruciatus curse doesn't even come close to matching. Tom, seeing that Harry still wasn't completely convinced, states, "You may come to me any time with your fears. I will not laugh or taunt you, because they are valid, and it's good to be concerned, as it means you are taking your studies seriously. You may also speak to any of the agent's advisors helping you. That is part of why they are there close to you when I cannot be. Now, do you wish a standard contract, or would you like to discuss it at length?" Harry, after listening to a few comments from the others before they'd gone to Hogwarts, calmly asks, even though he was anything but, "It is usually included in the contract, but it's not something I look for. I am quite able to find willing bedmates." "Harry, I can't say I've written it out before, but if that situation makes you uncomfortable, then we can state in the contract that such will not be required." Seeing Harry still looking undecided, he adds, and just because it's allowed by contract to me doesn't give the same liberty to my agents. They will not ever be able to demand such of you, and if they do ask, then it's of their own feelings and not due to some nefarious section of the contract. The next day Harry sits down and reads through the contract presented to him by Tom Riddle, amazed at what he was reading. By contract I, Camulus Ignatius Tomas Peveril, take you, Harry James Potter, as my apprentice, and you will remain such until you've learned all that's deemed necessary for your chosen mastery. It is my responsibility to clothe you, house you, feed you, and supply you with what's necessary for you to learn, be it books, parchment, cauldrons, and potion supplies. Additional information added to make it clear to Harry. Collapsing from exhaustion will not help you get there faster. Pace yourself. If you encounter problems, tell us, we will adjust your schedule. Now, while at Hogwarts this year, September through June, you will not take part in the regular defense, charms, potions, transfiguration, or history. Also includes finance and government classes, but you will be assisting the professors. You will not be taking runes or arithmancy and estate management with the Hogwarts student, but will be given tutoring by Sebastian and Lucius. In addition to these courses of study, you will also start the basic healing. You will be taking the warding course offered and care of magical creatures, as you've shown an interest in it. If there are any others you feel inclined to take, please alert me immediately. After reading it through and asking a few questions, Harry picks up the blood quill and signs it quickly, followed by Tom and the agents involved, as well as Rodolphus Lestrange, Dyrus Rookwood, Alvin McNair, who acted as impartial witness so as to clarify that no coercion was involved. When they were done and Harry was again left alone with the Dark Lord, Harry asks, "Is it still valid with the name you used?" Tom smiles in delight. "I am so glad you caught that, and yes, it is very much legal, more so than if I'd used Tom Riddle. I truly did hate my biological father for how he treated my mother. I legally changed my name when I was 38 years old to Peveril, and used some of my more well-placed followers to hide the paper trail. This is one of the reasons that I do not think I will have much trouble trying to visit you. But with Dumbledore you just can never tell. ROTBR 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 Rotbar. Tom wanted to change the world to make it safer for wizards and to keep magic strong. This was perverted into subjugating muggles and muggle-borns and intense and uncontrolled violence. Not what he wanted. Lucius, well, he was controlled and manipulated into forgetting something unbreakable. He came close to breaking himself when it was discovered. He still deeply loves Draco, and has fallen for his daughter all over again. He still believes in pure blood, or the old traditions that started with and before Merlin, and will teach and initiate all his children in them. Severus, while he never liked the Gryffindors when in school as a student, would never have acted in such a bullying manner without the compulsions. He may have disliked Harry because of the constant reminder of James and the bullying he suffered, but as a whole I think most of the G-House wouldn't have been targeted so spitefully. He now knows the complete, unvarnished truth and actually likes Harry, sees a lot of promise in him and a lot more of Lily than James. Dasari's contract next. The basics of Draco's has already been stated. And more Weasley insights as well, possibly Dumble's too. Getting prepared for the coming term, Dumbledore looked at the professors arrayed around the table before him. It was with a sense of pride he was able to fill all the positions and even add an elective this term, with all the publicity, good and bad, that seemed to be following him everywhere. Minerva McGonagall starts, "Albus, we can't wait any longer. The school supply letters must go out not later than tomorrow evening." Dumbledore starts, "Of course, Minerva, now let's get this meeting underway. Mrs. Weasley, your apartments have been arranged. I do hope they are to your liking." When they nod, he continues, "Mr. Cornwall, yours as well, I assume." Basar Cornwall, aka Sebastian Lestrange, replies haughtily, "Headmaster, while my apartment is sufficient for my use, I will also require a smaller one for my apprentice. On another note, my classroom needs to be a bit brighter and more airy, or the students will tend to fall asleep. History is an interesting subject but needs the proper environment. I have no idea how been's ever managed without most of the student body falling asleep from the conditions in the present room. Ah yes, your apprentice. That brings me to another topic altogether. It's come to my attention that Harry Potter, Dasari Black, Draco Malfoy, and Neville Longbottom have all signed apprentice contracts. Severus, you've got 2 apprentices this term, young Mr. Malfoy and a Ms. Raven Stormwing, correct? Severus Snape sneers, "That is correct, Headmaster, and I will also be having apprentice-level lessons with Potter and Black, as they are both undertaking multi-class masteries." They along with Draco and Raven will be assisting me in teaching while learning advanced techniques to ease us through this process. I've procured a TA with a teaching certificate. He will also require an apartment in the dungeons. He nods. Yes, Mr. Peveril informed me of the requirements that his apprentices will require and the arrangements that he made for them as he's required to be out of the country much of the upcoming year. Lord Malfoy, Remus Lupin, Mr. Cornwall and one other whose name will be supplied after the start of term will be filling in for him while he's out of touch. I understand that Mr. Potter will not be taking charms, potions, transfiguration or history with the regular students but will be taking herbology, healing, defense and COMC and the new warding elective. Ms. Black, it seems, has already taken her newts in runes, arithmancy, potions, transfiguration, and herbology, therefore will be only taking healing, defense, COMC, and warding. Her mastery covers charms, transfiguration potions, and herbology. Neville Longbottom will be taking all regular courses except for herbology, for which he's apprenticing, and potions, which as I understand he's being tutored. His grandmother has requested one-on-one classes so that he isn't overwhelmed. Severus, what of Mr. Malfoy? Draco will be attending the regular charms, herbology, defense, transfiguration, runes, and arithmancy classes. He is undecided if he wants to try the COMC and warding as of yet. I'll let you know before the students arrive. Minerva McGonagall demands shrilly, what is this nonsense about apprentices? I thought you'd decided that none would allowed in Hogwarts while you were headmaster. I've been forced to reevaluate my stance upon that matter. I've come to the conclusion that Hogwarts once again having apprentices is beneficial to the magical community. I myself was going to see if I could get Harry, but alas, he already found someone else. I still hold out hope of him changing his mind. Smirking, McGonagall demands, then I wish to take Miss Granger as my apprentice Albus. She's extremely gifted in transfiguration and talent like hers shouldn't be wasted. That is between the two of you, Minerva, because as I've been reminded, all masters have complete control of their apprentices. Finally, I'll need the syllabus you intend to use for this term on my desk no later than 2 p.m. tomorrow. School letters go out after that, and we need the books you intend to use for them. Molly re-educates her children. Molly Weasley looks across the kitchen table at her two youngest children, the two she was closest to and had the most control over, and abruptly snaps out. Well, Ron, do you have Hermione in line? It wouldn't do for all our efforts to be for nothing. Ron arrogantly proclaims, she'll be back tonight after supper. Control in the bond as the dominate partner. I really am surprised with how much she worships books and all that she's never read up on the old ways and why they were observed. She's planning on nursing me through classes this term since Harry's blown us off for the Slytherins. How much longer do I have to act like a lazy half-wit? One of the professors. You can probably slowly start showing your intellect, but Ronald, I do mean slowly. We don't want her knowing that you've been faking. At least your father can't throw out your marriage contract, so it will go through regardless of your father's feelings. Looking over to her headstrong daughter. Now that Potter is out of your reach, you must find a rich, well-placed husband. You must seduce him and get pregnant, that way your father will have to force a bond. It will give us money and position to deal with against the rest of the purebloods and raise us out of this pit that your father has us in. Crocodile tears starting immediately. But Mom, she wails, I want to marry Harry. You said he'd be mine and I've all these plans. Ginevra Weasley, you will do as I say. Stay away from Harry Potter. He's taken out a restraining order against us, and if you violate it we all go to Azkaban. No amount of money is worth Azkaban, do you understand me? The stigma of having been there just will not wash off. Now let's think about your classmates. Who is a viable candidate to be your future husband? Molly ground out harshly. Ron interjects, trying to calm his mother. How about Braden Dunstan? I believe his father is Lord Bradeen Dunstan, Baron of Dunmore. They have a large holding and are a neutral pureblood family. Braden is an only child, and while they aren't as rich as, say, Malfoy or Potter, they are very well off and well respected by the ministry. His family has a seat on the Wisengamot, and his father works in one of the investigative units of the OR department. Braden in the same year as Ginny, so getting close to him shouldn't be too difficult. Molly asks, has he been involved with anyone at school, talked about a marriage contract or previous arrangements? Ron looks thoughtful before responding. Not that I've heard. He keeps to a small group of friends and hasn't broadcast any romantic attachments. What I know about him I've picked up by listening in on some of his conversations. Ginny, sniffing loudly, whines. Well, he isn't on any of the Quidditch teams, but his grades aren't awful. He doesn't hang out with any girls, so if he isn't gay it should be too hard to get him. Molly replies with an almost evil grin, even if he is gay, dear. A little of the right potion at the right time and he's all yours. Dasari's contract arrangements. Glad to be back at SLYTH tour. Lucius Malfoy sits down with the Dark Lord to discuss something important and close to both of their hearts. Dasari. Lucius, has she given any indication to you as to what her desires are concerning her future? Who her mates may be? Lucius sighs heavily. My lord. She senses 4 possible mates. 2 she hasn't encountered and 2 that she has. She believes that both Severus and Sebastian are candidates for bonding, but both of them also have other choices that do not include her. She's comfortable with Severus, but I do not think it's a romantic comfort, more of an older brother or close uncle. Sebastian makes her nervous, and I think that situation may lead to more if given the chance. She spoke to me a little about it, but I don't think I was much comfort. Severus tells me that she spoke to him about apprentice contracts and didn't really wish to sign one with Sebastian as she didn't want to be lesser in their relationship forever. Not that I think he'd ever make her feel that way, but you are right, it's a good indication that she sees him in more romantic way. So I am arranging another contract with her as my apprentice as well. The 2 of us are the only qualified to cover all the areas she wishes to master. Sebastian, and the others will stand in for me at that school, but she will be my apprentice. My lord, I think that's a good idea, as I really do not believe that Dumbledore is through trying to get control of her and her assets. Riddle asks calmly, are you going to try to discourage Severus from courting her? Lucius laughs, actually no, but I did lay out some ground rules because of their age difference. They are to participate in a proper courting with a lot of romantic gestures and very little physical contact. That should discourage him properly then, as I do not believe he has a romantic bone in his body, or that he will enjoy sweet dinners and hand-holding while his hormones rage out of control. Return of the Black Rose, Chapter 21. Putting the final touches on the contents of his new trunk, Harry looks over at the blonde sitting on his bed. Are you ready for this, Draco? We're going to be at Hogwarts tomorrow. Do we let things go back to how they were or show the world a unified front? Draco pulling a sour face. This is the first time in 6 years that I'm not happy to be heading back to Hogwarts, and it's not just the new relationship between us either. Hell, Harry, my mate is there and I don't want to go. I just don't want to have to deal with all the prejudice and backbiting that's a constant in that institution of higher learning. Harry nods as he closes and locks his trunk. It's never been a very happy place for me, Draco. I mean, it was way better than being at the Dursleys, but my life was on the line every year I was there, and I am near 100 positive that every situation was arranged by Dumbledore, flinging his hand up in frustration. And it's not like the slights and two-faced ideals aren't rampant in Gryffindor. They turn on me as often as the rest of the school did, as most of the wizarding world did. I am sick to death of the save-me mentality that this world has. Exactly what special ability am I supposed to have as a mostly untrained wizard? Honestly, they're all sheep, Draco, sheep being led to the slaughter by the big bad wolf, and they want an untrained kid to save them when they've all, each and every one of them, had the same schooling I have, and probably more, as most of them were at least raised in with magical world and not as a downtrodden muggle. Snorting, Draco interject. For the house of the brave and chivalrous, they do tend to jump ship rather quick. Flopping back on the bed beside him. I can't tell you how happy I am to be out of Gryffindor House this term and in a room of my own. Harry, it's not just a room of your own. Apprentices get apartments, they're smaller and not as luxurious as the professors are, but it's a complete apartment and loads better than being in the dorms. Grinning at the thought of no more ruined work or stolen possessions. I should have pushed for something like this long ago, Draco, or petitioned for a private room even if it meant paying for it out of pocket. A quick frown later he adds without humor, but you know Dumbledore would have just denied the petition. He needed Ron to have access to my things to keep track of me. You really should have been sorted into Slytherin, Harry. Snape may have made you miserable in public, but in the dorms the spirit of Salazar would have protected you. Theft and cursing of possessions is not something that he would have allowed. You know, all the founders are supposed to protect their own. I wonder what happened to Godric Gryffindor that he doesn't protect his own anymore? The ride on the express wasn't really any different than it had been any other year, except this year he hadn't had to put up with Ron and Hermione since he, Draco and Dasari had taken a compartment to themselves, locking and adding a notice me not to the door to ensure their peace. Upon arrival at the school, however, they couldn't avoid the initial confrontation any longer, since it seems the duo was looking for them. They were moving towards the carriages when it happened. A crowing voice, arrogant and annoying, called out from the edge of the dark path where she'd been directing first years down to the docks. "Where have you been, Harry? We looked all over the train for you. Where'd you spend your summer? You know Professor Dumbledore was angry that you didn't stay at your aunt's house like he told you to." "Well, Harry, are you going to answer me, and why are you with Malfoy anyhow?" Letting out a pent-up breath, he'd been half dreading this confrontation and relishing it all the same. He replies coldly, "Hermione, shut up. You aren't my mother or even a relative of mine, so you have no need to know all my business. It's obvious I was on the train since you just watched me walk off of it. If you, in your inept blindness, can't fathom that I possibly used magic to keep from being disturbed on the journey, that's your problem. As for why I'm with Draco, well, he is my brother. Who else would I be with?" Spying Draco helping Desari into a carriage, he coyly added, "Now if you'll excuse me, my ride is about to leave." Stalks over to the carriage, climbing quickly in as it sets off almost before the door closes. Leaning back in the seat across from Draco and Desari, "Did you notice, Draco? Granger was wearing apprentice robes and a prefect badge, and that idiot Weasley is still the Gryffindor prefect even though he failed nearly all his classes?" Nodding, Draco replies with a frown, "I don't get it, Harry. How can McGonagall justify leaving them as prefects? Hogwarts code clearly states that no apprentice may have a position of authority to include head boy or girl or prefect, nor can they play on the house teams or be Quidditch captain. Nor can a student remain prefect unless they've gotten 5 OWLs or maintained that score after becoming one. Do you think we should write Father about this? Well, after we remind them of the school code, of course. Note. I know I've been absent from this story for a long time. I've no excuse really except lack of writing inspiration on my part. I've read through it today and have taken to editing blatant errors and things that don't make much sense even to me as I read through. If you know of something that needs to be or should be fixed, feel free to PM me and point out the spot with a quote or something to lead me to the right line. I'm going to be doing some changing up of things with Desari as well to make her a bit less Mary Sue-ish, so don't be surprised to get updates on old chapters being reposted.